You ready, Pat? Yes? And we're good then? All right, cool. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2024 to the News Record and the Star Ledger in December of 2023, and by filing said notice in the office of the township clerk.
Ms. Croy,
Here.
Mr. Daffis,
Present.
Mr. DeLuca.
Here.
Ms. Engel.
Here.
Mayor Adams.
Here, thank you.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire the governing body to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee, Township of Maplewood does hereby prohibit, except to set forth in a formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Daffis.
Yes.
Luca, Ms. Engel.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Would everyone please stand for a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Just a quick overview. We have budget workshop. This is our second budget workshop for the 2024 township budget. We'll start off with Springfield Avenue Partnership, then go in order this way: Maplewood Village Alliance, Community Coalition on Race, YouthNet, the Open Space Trust Fund, the Police Department and OEM, the Health Department, Library, and then Finance. And then we'll have a public comment and then we'll adjourn. So let's get this party started and bring up the Springfield Avenue Partnership. Come on up.
Evening, my name is Jim Nearing.
Good evening.
Hi, Jim.
Is that working?
Tilt it up to you.
About that better?
Yeah, and you got to kind of speak
We
loud.
can hear you. We just want to make sure they can hear you online. Yep,
This would be better yet.
That's
better.
there you go.
That's good.
All right, thank you for the opportunity to make our presentation this evening. 2023 was a great year for us. We saw a return to near normal on Springfield Avenue, lots of events, a full year of events, lots of businesses opening, and lots of investment. It was really great. We did, let's just give you some highlights. We developed our strategic plan that'll take us through to 2030 to guide our priorities and measure our impact. We updated our mission statement, which is to improve Springfield Avenue Maplewood while maintaining the district's diversity. We helped support our current businesses and tried to attract new businesses by helping them navigate the steps to open a new business in Maplewood. So we were successful with 14 new or rebranded businesses open last year, which is better than one a month. We awarded over $10,000 in signage and facade grants in collaboration with the Township and Neighborhood Preservation Program. We hosted a well-attended meeting in conjunction with SOMA of the Rutgers Small Business Development Center, presented by Tende Nadoro. Events, Mayfest features a record number of local businesses and I think a record number of attendees were brought to the Avenue this year. Great weather and we had a great event. 2 fundraisers brought in over $5,000. It was the wine tasting and the beer tasting. They were very successful. And to improve the Avenue appearance, we added new banners, purchased new garland, and installed seasonal storefront art. As always, we'd like to thank our SAM Executive Director, Nicole Wallace, our board of trustees, Maplewood Township for their support, business owners, and all the volunteers and visitors who supported Springfield Avenue. So I'm going to let Nicole take over with some more detailed information, then we'll go into the budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'll just go through some of the highlights.
of the past year. We had several new businesses open and some were rebranding. The general store did a rebrand. We opened Avenue Pub, which is, I think, our first casual dining with a liquor license restaurant on the avenue, as far as I know, an ice cream parlor, a few new wine and liquor stores. We also had a bunch of new services open, including a co-working space at your third base, a dance studio, barber shop, and a new owner at CKO Kickboxing. As always, we love to celebrate our ribbon cuttings. We appreciate the committee's attendance at all those events. It's one of the nicest things we can do to welcome the new businesses to the Avenue. We also went back to a robust schedule of events this year. We had a successful Mayfest, and I think the key to the success of Mayfest is also how many of the local regional businesses we got there. And once again, our sponsors allowed us to provide free rides, games, entertainment for kids at the event. We had two beer alcohol-related fundraisers. Nobody Beats the Fizz was a wine tasting fundraiser, and our craft beer tasting both at the Wine Barrel, which earned us money for Springfield Avenue beautification projects in 2024. Windows for Women returned last year, where we spotlighted our women-owned businesses with art, and that's something we did with the Village. A new event we started a year or two ago was the Sunday Jazz Series. It's a really nice, very low-key event. The crowd gets bigger and bigger. Each Sunday we have it, and it's been a really nice success. And that's just something we do for the community. And finally, our winter market relocated to the gazebo this year, but was very well attended. As Jim mentioned, we did do a strategic plan up through 2030. So I just wanted to highlight some of our 2024 goals and objectives this year. We always want Springfield Avenue to remain a home to a diverse community of business owners. We think that's sort of who we are and what we represent. And so we want to both help our businesses with programs and also celebrate our business owners. We want to make sure anything that's underutilized or vacant spaces are being paid attention to, and really go back to the plan for Springfield Avenue and promote the 2 nodes that were identified in the original plan. We will continue our facade and signage grant. You'll see money for that in the budget, plus additional funds or through the MPP grant, which that budget will be coming to you not as part of this, the MPP. And then hold an annual business meeting, which I'm already in touch with Mayor Adams about setting a date for that meeting. We want to keep in touch with our business owners, including printing and handing out a copy of the annual report that you have in front of you. We're going to hand that out in print to each of our business owners, so to really communicate what we're doing. And then a big thing we've heard is really expanding our marketing outside of SOMA into Union and surrounding towns, and trying to capture, especially how Springfield Avenue is situated, more of that market. And then just finally, we couldn't have done this alone. As you can see by the many, many logos on here, it's a team effort at SAM, and we also appreciate everything the township does for us. I'm going to turn it over to our treasurer, Sheila, and she'll go over the budget.
Okay. I like the way you put pictures of all of us in the presentation, so. Smart.
Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Good evening.
I sort of left a voice in Singapore and came back with a cold. Just got back today.
Oh, goodness.
Okay.
Oh,
As Jim mentioned, we had a banner year. And I think we're going to have another banner year this year
good.
as well. So happy to announce that. I'm just going to give you some of the highlights. With the assessments, we were a little conservative. So we added a 1% increase for the assessments. And also because I'm going to say that Nicole is the grant queen, and she did a terrific job for us in securing grants. And that's one of the reasons that we wanted to be a little bit more conservative with the 1%, conservative uh, amount. Okay. The second item that I wanted to highlight is you'll see on the accounts receivable, the increase. There is an increase there. We are in the process of, we just put out an RFP for a graphic designer. And the graphic designer is going to help us and assist with our marketing and advertising efforts. We also have put together a committee that's going to work on those projects. Mayfest. Well, you already heard, Mayfest is our signature event. We are hoping, and we know that that's going to be continuing. We have some additional the increase for the Mayfest is with the sponsorships. And we have the amount that's listed here, the $1,000 is the increase of the $1,000 is due to sponsorship, additional sponsorship. Forgive me with this voice. In the area of events, this year we had 2 events. We had the wine and we had the craft beer. But after doing both of them, we decided that for this year, we would only do one. We're only going to do the craft beer. The wine did not produce the revenues and also the turnout that we have been getting for the craft beer, so we decided that we would do just the one. Due to our Main Street grant, we have received additional funds, and we also have put on board an event coordinator, and she's going to assist Nicole with the various events that we put on. It's the Mayfest, the holiday programs, etc. Of course, everyone knows that Nicole has done a terrific job. And in the budget is a 3% increase for his salary. You will also see that the $25,000 that we have, which is included, is also an expense of $22,000 that's listed below for the event coordinator. That's to pay the salary to the event coordinator. Public art, another item for which there has been a significant decrease. And because we only spent about $8,000 this year, and we wanted to be a little bit more in line with the amount of money that we spent this year. And the monies that were spent basically for the banners that are on Central Avenue. And finally, the entryway product. It says it's $7,000. That is to be spent to paint the utility boxes on Springfield Avenue.
Okay.
And I think with that, you'll see one of the things that we were successful with is that we do not have a lot of money at the end. That's due to county to county. Every year, that's been a sore spot. With us this year, Nicole was able to secure invoices early and make sure that those expenses were paid. So unless anyone has any specific questions.
I have just a couple. With regard to the 1% increase for the assessment on the properties, you said you were concerned about something, but I,
No, we were conservative,
oh, conservative.
right,
Okay.
and only including a 1%.
The echo in here.
Yeah, it's bad. I know.
Mhm.
So, and then the increase in the request from the township of $2,500. So I guess, in my mind, I would hope that the assessment would go up. Go ahead, Nicole, come on up to the microphone.
That's something Patrick asked for specifically to do litter removal around the fridge,
To do, I'm sorry.
Litter
what?
removal
Litter
around
removal,
the
so the Springfield.
around the
Partnership has
community
a-
fridge.
Yeah.
So it'd be a big, it increases the area we usually
I see.
see and so we'll run it through our contract.
So,
Because they're already there picking up litter on the street and along the curb on
mhm,
Springfield Avenue. So we've asked them to clean around the fridge itself on Springfield, but also extend out some of the legs on the streets near the fridge where we've seen an increase in litter.
okay.
Can I
Okay,
ask a follow-up question on that? So is that money that's already in a different part of the budget that's just moving over to this budget because the SAM team is going to be doing it, or it's an added 2,500?
Well, it's $2,500 increase to the township's contribution to Springfield.
right, but I think,
But where is the money, like, was that already in like our DEP budget that's
We
moving
hadn't-
over? It's a new,
we
or it's a
hadn't
new
incurred
expense?
higher.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's something we absorbed in the budget in 2023, but hadn't planned in the budget in 2023 and will plan for in 2024
are we talking, which budget are we talking
in the
about?
municipal budget.
Municipal budget. So now I'm confused. I wasn't.
So this came up when we had the community meeting, that people said the area around there was dirty. So then we met after and we said, okay, how can we clean it up? And we said, well, we have a bucket and broom company out there now
Mhm.
that the partnership has a contract with. So let's add money to their contract so that we had nobody was doing it before. So this is all new money. And it was an initiative of the town to add it to the partnership's contract to meet the requests of the residents.
Okay,
And this way, we don't have to do the contract, and the contracting is already there. And it's an additional hours to do a more intensive cleanup in and around that parking lot and shooting down, as Mr. Weary said, into the, some of the streets.
okay.
I just want to talk about the assessment because typically, as you know, we were trying to bump up the assessments of both special improvement districts.
Yeah.
I think as you say, you were conservative with 1%, and I think it actually makes sense to go with the 1% increase because this is a revaluation year, and we really don't know how the assessments will work up there because, as we know, properties get raised in value differently up there. So I think being conservative this year is probably a good idea, but I think we should revisit it next year again and maybe bump it up a little bit more because that's what we're trying to do. But I think just to settle it for this year to stick more conservative, I think is a better idea.
I'm okay with that for this year, but definitely I think we should make up for it, especially if commercial properties tend to be the ones that get appealed the most, right? So we just want to make sure we're not you know, not properly funding the organization by the properties that directly benefit the most from it. So,
100%.
yeah. So, any other questions from my colleagues for?
Well, I'll just do one happy remark. I'm happy that there's funding for the electrical boxes, public art, because I feel like we've been talking about that for a long time, even before I was in this position. So very excited for that one.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask. When you mentioned the entryways, I was thinking you were gonna repaint the sign like by the New Jersey Transit, but okay.
They are.
And the one on the other side. Okay, cool.
There's gonna be some money.
Great. If my colleagues have no more questions, I'd like you to go home and go to bed.
Yeah.
Because you're tired.
Feel better.
Not at all. Thank you so much
Medication.
for taking the time. That's not something you want to do with jet lag, but I appreciate your time for that.
Feel better.
Okay. Thank you very much, Springfield Avenue. Fine call by Jim. Maplewood Village Alliance, are they on Zoom,
I
Patrick?
think they're on Zoom, right?
And everyone's been informed to come 15, 20 minutes before their time, right? Okay, great. I see Youth Nuts here.
I'm promoting Miss Ranella Walker to panelist so she can present. Welcome, Miss Walker. You're currently on mute, so if you don't.
Take it off, and it says you can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
You are
Can you
with us
hear me?
now. We can hear you, yes.
Okay. For some reason though, I keep getting, it says you can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
Because the host is stopping the video.
Yeah.
I don't think the host, that's not a thing, is it? Co-hosts. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Probably give me the co-host.
It's also blurry on here.
Yeah, he just told Nick. Nick came back and made us blurry.
How about now?
There's something, what's that say at the top?
There you go.
Oh, you see me?
You're blurred. Oh, there you
Hey,
go.
there I go. Hello, everyone. How are you this evening?
Good. Hi, Renella.
Good.
Go ahead and
It's good
take
to
us
see-
through your budget.
Okay, so first and foremost, for those who haven't met me yet or anything of that nature, my name is Ranella Walker, and I am the new executive director for the MVA. Due to maximize time, as well as the fact that I came in 6 weeks in the last quarter, pretty much in November, I'm just going to make a general verbal statement in regards to the 2023 highlights based off of the diligent work and efforts of my predecessor, Kat Dillette, in partnership with the board. There were several new businesses that came into town and revampings of businesses like Narar, Perch, Spot Diner. We also had, I'm going to show you, Patrick, is that you doing that?
Yes, I have your 2024 goals and initiatives up.
Okay. Also, there was, hold on, I'm missing something. I'm trying to get back to something on my own notes. Excuse me for this. Okay, well, with the events, our traditional events of Girls Night Out, Dickinson's Village, Art Walk, Windows for Women, we estimated that we brought in at least over 5,000 people to the village in 2023. We also wanted to highlight the streeteries, even though the program that all the designs and the guidelines and things like that, all of that kicked off, even though we know we want to do better and you guys are working on that to get it done, as well as we received the $10,000 from the Maplewood Foundation and many other fundraising. We fundraised over 30-something thousand for the Baker Square project, which is the thing we're most excited about for 2023 that made a public spew. And we have about 10% of that project left that we should have done by the spring. And that foundation grant the money, we're utilizing that to get that done. So I'm going to move over to what I can really talk about, which is our 2024 MVA goals and initiatives. Thanks, Pat, for putting it already on the screen. I'm not sure if I can move it up and everything. No, I can't. Okay, well, initially, we're going to focus on 3 areas for this year. The organization is a great organization. However, the board feels that we want to move to the next level. We want to grow, we want to expand, we want to elevate. So we're focusing on elevating the internal operations, systems, and resources within the organization so that we can serve and provide a more comprehensive and quantifiable enrichment opportunities within and for the village. We want to do more programming, workshops, seminars, things like that to help the merchants actually make sales and other initiatives outside of just our events. Some of those things, for those who can see it, you guys have it in front of you. And for those who are on Zoom, if you notice in the green, to elaborate on the 3 points that I'm speaking of. So in this area, we're talking about updating equipment, service providers, digital assets, streamlining our procedures and policies. We're revisiting our strategic visioning plan, which was done before COVID happened. And we're also seeking grants for increased funding, as well as other opportunities to provide additional programming. We want to go after some designations. We want to create a stronger internal infrastructure so that we can serve greater outwardly. Pat, if you don't mind, can you pull it up a little bit? Our next thing we're focusing on concentration area is to continue to develop the beauty of the Maplewood Village by completing our current beautification projects. As I mentioned earlier, Baker Square has about 10% left to go. We have about 4 benches, as well as some brick and mortar, some bricks that need to be laid down as soon as it gets warm. We're going to have our contractor go out there and start labeling that. And then we want to have a big celebration, a big ribbon cutting, as well as some information to go out about how the village can actually use the space, not just sitting there when they're walking, but actual things, like a farmer's market, outdoor activities and things of that nature. We also have an initiative that we want to restore the benches, all of the street benches. We've already sat with a vendor. We've already had conversations. We have an estimate on the table. After we go through this procedure and adoption with you guys, then we want to move forward and start getting all of the benches in the village to be cleaned, repaired, and restored. We already made all of the assessments on what needs to be done and where. We also have a few rogue benches that we need to put back in place. Our third initiative, as well as, we want to work with the township, you guys, on the Streetery initiative to make a more uniformed and safe experience. So our third concentration will be to promote and market outside of Maplewood Village and the township to show the resources and opportunities within Maplewood Village and the town to increase foot traffic, sales, and public awareness. We really feel like the village is a very kind of like best kept secret type of thing outside of the town. And we want to let other people know that it's there, it's operating, it has great stores, it has great services, a diverse account of things. And we want to get that information out and bring more people from the outside into the community. So some of the ways we plan on doing this is sharing press releases and adding paid media as well as promotional marketing with targeted and aligned media outlets that's servicing other townships and the overall state, as well as we want to develop a business directory brochure to distribute during village-wide events. One of the things that was noticed is that, people come into town, they experience things, and then they leave, and some know what's all there, and many people don't. So we want to make sure that they get to leave with something in hand that says, okay, we have these types of services. We have shopping, we have dining, we have services, we have educational classes, and we want to just make sure that they leave, but they come back, not just for an event that they may or may not hear about, but they say, hey, you know what, I'm going out and I'm going to, Luna, I'm going to Coda tonight. I'm doing something like that. So we want to put a lot of information and efforts in those areas. Now, moving forward, we're going to, unless anybody has any question or concern about anything I just mentioned.
You can go ahead and move forward with the line items.
Okay, so as far as our budget, we just want to highlight a couple of things that have changed concerning the township more. So for our assessment, what we decided to do was we moved forward with a 3% increase, which is only about $2,900, but we want to stay in tune with inflation. As we know, last year, there was a big increase, and we don't want to get in a situation where we're not moving forward with society in general, and then we have to hit the property owners with a big assessment increase again. Also, in our SLA, last year, the town, you guys adopted $2,800, but I guess it wasn't carried over into the official town budget. So we only received $1,500. So this year, we're also talking about bringing back that $2,800. So essentially altogether, it's about a $4,200 increase from the town. In our budget, none of the line items have changed. And it's essentially pretty much on par as it was last year. It's just a few adjustments about where we're spending the money and how we're spending the money. And even though we've been very heavy on events in the past few years, again, as I said, I came in 6 weeks to the end of last quarter. So this year, we're still going to do events. We're still going to partner with people, but we're not going to be as aggressively involved as we were before, because we want to find new opportunities to enhance what we're doing. So if you notice in our budget, Patrick, I think you can go down a little bit. We don't have, right there. Thank you. Events and marketing. You will notice that we have an amount there, but we don't have it itemized out to say, okay, this is going to go to Art Walk. This is going to go to such and such, because we're revisiting those conversations. And a lot of these events anyway, we have partners in them as well. So we're taking those meetings to see where we want to spend our funding. And I think that's it. Unless there, again, any questions or concerns or comments.
Do any of my colleagues have any questions for Ranella? Mr. DeLuca does,
Okay.
there you go.
So I just want to alert us all to in the revenue proposed, they propose a carryover or using a drawdown from their balance sheet of almost $35,000, which is 20% of the budget. And this is a lot of reliance on, your balance sheet, and it's hard to sustain that going forward. So it's, I understand the 3% increase, but if that didn't materialize again, that balance in next year's budget, you'd have a pretty big gap.
Well, what we're hoping, we do have the reserves to fund it, but what we're hoping is that we're going to acquire some grants and things of that nature that we don't need to utilize it. One of the things that has, I'm a very transparent person, so I'm going to just keep it real. One of the things that has kind of handicapped the organization is that we don't have enough manpower to facilitate some of the projects and things that we want to do. And in addition to that, without getting grants and other resources of funding, we can't expand what we've already been doing. And that's why we're going to make this a priority. Really, what we're looking to do, and what I said, is essentially we're trying to take a couple of steps back so that we can take a quantum leap forward. We have some things. We're going to go after that Main Street designation. We're working on the application for that so that we can get some of these resources. We're also considering reaching out for some outside service providers who specialize in grants and things of that nature so that we can start looking, because there's money out there. There's money out there for stigma-free communities. There's transportation money out there based on what the streets are looking like. There's a lot of things. Now, also, because I am new and I'm only a few months into the position, I'm still learning how things have been previously operated before I can make my full recommendations of what we need to shift and what we need to change. But we do understand, and we are all in agreement that in order for us to grow and to go to the next level, which that is our goal, then we have to do some things that we weren't previously doing. We have to be more proactive in these particular areas. And that's why our focuses are what they are. And when we're saying, hey, well, we're not going to do windows for women this year, we're not going to do this, we're not going to be doing that, because we're trying to allocate our resources and our time to doing things that can allow us to really grow and expand. And it might take the 12 months, you know, it might be when I come back to you next year, we'll have a much more robust situation than we do now, but we are trying to grow. And that is our greatest and most important initiative, to grow and to actually provide resources that not only bring traffic for a day, you know, that, but have people coming in, have people knowing about the village, wanting to participate in the village, wanting to shop here, dine here, play here, and work here, because it is a best kept secret. And it's small town vibe and things of that nature. I'm just neighboring in a neighboring city and things like that, but it's such a refreshing space. And I think that if more people knew about it, we could help the businesses increase, as well as make the village attractive to other businesses and other entrepreneurs and things of that nature.
And I have a question for Patrick. The planting, landscaping, we gave the MVA a reduction last year. Is that correct?
That's right. They had requested additional, but was actually approved in the budget was less than they requested, which is why you see their 2023 actual lower than what they requested in 2023.
Okay, so they're just requesting again what they requested in 2023.
That's right.
Which would be an increase from the actual.
That's right.
Yes. Essentially in dollars, it's $4,200 between the assessment and the SLA.
Engel?
I just had a comment. Thank you so much for that presentation. I hear both Maplewood Village Alliance and Springfield Avenue Partnership talking about marketing our downtowns outside of this area. And I know it's also come up in the economic development meeting. So I just want to make sure, again, I mean, this is to promote my public information officer that I want, but I mean, this should all be coordinated because it's one story about Maplewood and our different districts. And I don't want our two business districts to be competing against each other. So I feel like we need to be working together, because you both highlighted that as important priorities for this year. And you're both putting money toward it. So I just feel like there needs to be some kind of coordination, and we should all be working together to be telling the story.
Well, I can definitely agree with that. And I could say that there are some things happening already. Annette De Palma, she has already instituted, you know, we're all in agreement to have monthly SID meetings or whatever, so that we can discuss what you guys are talking about in the town, as well as what Nicole and Sam is thinking about, as well as myself. And so far, Nicole has been, you know, gracious with her time and her insight and different things of that nature in addition. So we are also looking at it from a One Maplewood initiative. However, I must be very frank, in order to make sure that we ensure that we do what we need to do internally on our end. We have to get some of those things done first and foremost before we begin to expand collaboration on, let's just say, other people's potential agenda.
Any
Thank you.
other questions from my colleagues? Mr. Dafford? Ms. Craig? No. Any questions from you, Patrick? Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, everyone. And
Thank
thank you, Patrick, for your assistance.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving right along, we have the Community Coalition on Race. I see the board chair and the director. You want to come on up? I know you do. I know you want to come up and join us.
Wait, that's all right.
That's okay.
That's right.
Want to put it on a jump drive? Let me see. So I do have, let me see what I have from you. Oh, no, you sent me the budget and the scope of work. Yeah.
People's agenda.
Good evening.
I know, right? Never forget about the.
Don't worry.
Here's a
They don't let us forget.
Correct.
That's a good point.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm gonna just let you.
Just hold it up. Here it is.
Zoom in.
Yes.
As soon as you get that ready, or you can start talking while he gets that up if you'd like. Introduce yourselves while Patrick's doing that. I think you have to hold it down and then the red light goes on. No, hold it.
And then around the.
up. Huh. Is that the same kind as this?
Yeah.
Just, yeah, press that in for a while. Like,
There it
there you go. It is a little sensitive or insensitive.
Probably not. That was what Ron would do over there.
Okay. Welcome and go ahead while Patrick's doing that.
Well, I'll kick things off. I just, I'm Robert A. Marchman, and I'm currently the chair of the Community Coalition on Race. I just wanted to say to each and every one of you, just thank you for the support that the township has given the Community Coalition over the years. I've been a proud resident of Maplewood now for 33 years, founding member of the coalition. And one of the things that makes the Community Coalition on Race unique, not only in New Jersey, but across the nation, is the fact that we do have government support. And to me, that is significant because that evidences the values of our community. And as one who was involved when we did the organization was founded, I am well aware that it was not an easy task for the government officials at the time. While we may have support now, I remember there were a lot of deep conversations. I will say, as one who's been involved with the organization for 25 years and professionally involved in the financial services industry, I see this support as an investment in the community. And if you look at what we call return on investment or ROI, I really believe that the coalition has in fact delivered above and beyond the expectations that we had as a community when we were founded and things that we're doing now. So just want to again say thank you, and particularly at this time when we're seeing this pushback on anything that has to deal with equity. Our communities, both in Maplewood and South Orange, frankly, stand as a beacon of light to show that the persons who are speaking that are frankly talking without merit. And we evidence that truly embracing DEI does have value add, not just for some, but for all. So with that, I'll turn it over to Nancy. And I thank you all again for
Thank
your
you.
time
That's
tonight.
Well spoken. Get it closer.
A little bit
Always better.
closer.
There you
Yep.
Country. Hmm. not banning books. What a nice
Cute.
contrast to other places.
Hmm.
Thank you. Thanks very much for all that. That was really informative. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? No, you win the prize. Hurry up. Hurry up before,
Well, you
you never
can.
know. Somebody might think of something just as you're getting up. Out
Thank you.
your-
Thank you for all the great work.
Thank you for the good work
Thank
that
you
you
for the
keep
great
doing
work.
for our community.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Have a good night, you guys. YouthNet. That's right? Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Moving right along.
It's the youth net.
No. Come and have the hot seats and you saw they're not too hot.
Kept them warm.
We're pretty nice. But you might need to turn on that mic. This mic, it looks like it's already on, I think. There you go. First try. See? Okay, welcome. So go ahead and introduce yourselves to the committee and I think
Gotta be
that one's
close.
off.
I think it has to be green
Ah,
on the.
it's
'cause
on.
my-
It's on.
oh, there
Now
you
it's
go.
on.
It's my
That's
special
what
new
I'm
mic.
Okay.
It's the one with it at the bottom. Green. No,
Oh, you're
that's
red.
right.
You're good.
Don't touch it. Oh, wait.
Okay, well, good evening. I'm Diane Malloy, the Executive Director of YouthNet.
And I'm Camilla Titleman, Board Chair.
So thank you for the opportunity tonight to discuss YouthNet and what we've accomplished in 2023 and where we plan to be in 2024. So for 15 years, yes, 15 years, it's.
That's amazing. Dan, can you bring the mic a
Oh,
little closer?
Yes, YouthNet has provided a place where the young people of South Orange and Maplewood can explore parts of themselves that they might not otherwise have done while making new friendships through shared interests, all in a safe, judgment-free environment. YouthNet's goal is to make all Soma teens productive members of the community and global citizens, no matter what their financial circumstances. Next slide, please. So this is what YouthNet does. You can see that we have middle school clubs, an extended enrichment program, high school programs, and our new mental health initiative. And I'm going to describe all of these in the presentation. Next slide, please. This is our wonderful board of directors, and you can see our beautification club there and our murder mystery club and a few other of the kids having fun after school. Next slide, please. Okay. So in 2023, we were able to serve 1,000 middle school students at MMS and SOMS through our club programming model. And we consistently engage and serve this number of students annually. By participating in these clubs, MMS and SOMS students can embrace the Spectrum Club, the environment, Asian culture, and experience what makes science cool. They become songwriters, dancers, playwriters, filmmakers. Our students are published authors, entrepreneurs, video gamers, creators, history sleuths, podcasters, and even pickleball players. Many of these clubs are essential in that they are not offered anywhere else in the manner that allows our teens to develop relationships with their school community and the community at large. Next slide, please. The Spectrum Club and Real Talk and the Empowerment Club are just a few examples where teens' needs are met in a unique way by people, teachers, social workers, and even principals, where they can reach these young children after school in an informal, safe, and socially comfortable way. Our extended enrichment program did not run this year, which is its first time since YouthNet's inception. It was a revenue source for us, and we miss it. But the demand at the middle school level has changed since COVID. More parents are working from home or have hybrid schedules. But we plan to revisit this program if the need exists in the community. And our licenses to run this program are still on hold at the state level. Scholarships are offered for all of our programs that no one has ever denied access. Next slide, please.
And we had actually a lot of scholarships this fall.
Yeah, we did. Our summer internship program ran in 2023. YouthNet collaborated with local businesses and organizations to mentor CHS students and help them gain real-life experience through this summer internship mentor program. We also ran workshops for our CHS students where resume writing and interview skills were taught before placements were made. We plan to expand the workshop component this year and invite some past interns to speak to our new ones. The YouthNet coordinators, who are teachers in the district, run the workshops and oversee the interns during the summer. Both townships took interns this summer, which proved to be very valuable experience for them, and one intern will seek employment with the township when he graduates. For the first time, we had a placement at the Maplewood Police Department. It was a very successful one, and we hope to expand the number of interns at both police departments this year. Other examples of mentors are Kamaya Kamani, Brave Floral, Kitchenella Mode, Pet Swamps, just to name a few. We were able to secure grant funding from the CHS Guidance Department to help pay for the workshops, and we'll continue to do that in 2024. Next slide, please. The Open Gym program was a fun and valuable program YouthNet sponsored in coordination with the Maplewood Police Department. This is where South Orange and Maplewood police officers, one day a month on Fridays after school at the CHS gym from 4 to 7, get together, play basketball, eat pizza, listen to various community speakers on topics ranging from drug education to environmental issues. In 2023, the South Orange First Aid Squad presented CPR techniques to the students. It was a huge success, and many students expressed interest in getting certified. This program will be up and running again in March. Next slide. In 2024, we plan to introduce a new initiative on mental health. Using the Preventure program, an evidence-based model, we will train 2 individuals at each middle school to implement the program. So what is Preventure? Preventure is a prevention program for youth that uses personality-focused interventions to promote mental health and reduce the risk of substance abuse, anxiety, and mental stress. The workshops are designed to help students learn useful coping skills, set long-term goals, and challenge their personality traits toward achieving them so that they can thrive in all areas of their lives. The program aims to equip young people with self-efficacy and cognitive behavioral skills to help them cope with the numerous developmental challenges that many adolescents face, such as academic stress, peer pressure, interpersonal conflict, and identity development. What we liked about Preventure is that it recognizes the importance of individual differences and how people interpret and cope with different types of challenges in life. In a time where we see our young people struggle with these issues, an intervention through the unique club structure that YouthNet has in place would be welcomed by both administrations at the schools and parents who often struggle to seek solutions to help their teens cope. The training and implementation of this program is why we are asking for additional funding this year. YouthNet has not asked for an increase in over 10 years. We managed to work on a budget that is tight while scholarshiping students and keeping a very low overhead. using our volunteers where we can and cutting spending where we can and providing most of the money towards our program. Next slide, please. The pie chart shows where our sources of revenue come from. 73 come from, revenue comes from contributions, revenues, and grants, and included in the contributions are our club revenues. Next slide, please. Our expenses show that 77% of the expenses go to programming. We are very close on budget with what programming and services we do provide, and if we want to bring our new initiative on board, we will need a bit more. So now I'd like to introduce Camilla Titleman, who you just met, and she'll discuss our fundraising efforts.
Hi,
If you can pull that mic.
Hello, everybody. All right.
Thank you.
Last spring, we made a shift to a nonprofit fundraising platform, Give Butter, to help improve our online fundraising process. Our contact with the parents of our students is primarily online based, and this platform gives us more specific access. We launched our 2023 fundraising with an ask sent directly to our parent community in April, followed by a more extensive campaign at the end of year fundraising. We began in early November with a letter, which was also sent to other members of the community via regular mail. Then 5 detailed email donation requests followed, including one on Giving Tuesday. We design our end of year fundraising push based on the protocols of larger organizations, some with corporate backing. Because we are a small organization, this undertaking, which we've done for years now, requires major effort. So thanks to the new fundraising platform, we achieved an impressive 60% open rate. But at the end, our donations were similar to those in 2022. One possible answer for this, we think, is the increasingly competitive fundraising environment in which we find ourselves. We are proud of the services that we give, and the demand for our services are growing more than ever. As Diane said, the move to work at home model has increased the need for after-school engagement and thus caused us to shift the way we fill those needs. Many of our clubs have been oversubscribed, which thrills us, but also creates a larger demand for even more activities to engage our youth. And as Diane also mentioned, the enrichment program, which was a fabulous program where students not only participated in clubs, but had access to homework tutors. And care until 6 has diminished because of demand. This particular program was a big revenue source for us. And so this loss has led to stress on our bottom line, which our fundraising efforts have worked hard to correct. Finally, as Diane mentioned, we are very excited about this new mental health initiative. We've talked about it here for years. And it's a very timely venture to do, I think. For a number of years, we've been searching for an initiative where we could support the mental health of our youth in our community. And so this spring, we want to launch a substantial program that gives the students tools to cope. You know, we can't control their access to social media and all the other stuff, but we can give them ways to handle these very intense social and societal pressures they feel. I teach up at Montclair State, and I can tell you that it's totally carrying through to older children, students. Students, children. But if we can put this program in place in the spring, we can almost immediately have a positive impact on 500 kids in the fall. We already, as Diane said, have the support of both SOMS and MMS, and hope that we can count on you guys for some extra financial support to make this initiative happen. So, as Diane also said, keeping, for 10 years, we've kept our financial request to both towns the same. And so we are asking for an increase for specifically this program. As in years past, we fundraise and hope to continue to be able to cover the cost to meet the growing needs of the students in the district, but we're small. And as I said, the environment is becoming more competitive. So this is the reason that we are asking for an increase this year. I just also want to thank you so much for all the support you've shown us for all these 15 years. I was here at the beginning. And we appreciate this, Diane and I, and our board so much, and so do the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next slide. I have 2 more slides. Yeah, thank you. So, okay. So in sum, YouthNet is very excited about our new mental health initiative and looks forward to its implementation in September of 2024. YouthNet continues to be an organization that enhances the opportunities available to the youth of our towns while being responsive to changing community needs and providing services and programs that are essential for young people to grow and meet the challenges in today's world. Do you have the next, that one there? The
That
one
one.
right before that. I just want everyone to see the, oh, it doesn't, okay. Oh, there it was, 15 years. There it is. Oh, okay.
You can see it here. Is there a video on it?
Picture.
Oh, it was the picture that I wanted to show everyone. This picture is when it comes up.
Invisible.
Anyway.
Can you tell us what it was about?
The picture. Oh, the picture that you can't see was of the first Model UN group 15 years ago.
Oh.
And they were little, now they're out of college with careers and they're all off in the world.
That's fantastic.
The very first one, anyway.
Yeah, that's
it was
nice.
On that slide. Anyway,
Thank you. Thank you
you're
very
welcome.
much for a very thorough and great presentation.
You can go to the left.
Any of my colleagues have any questions?
I have a question. I'm sorry. Thank you for the presentation. It was great to
Yeah.
hear more about YouthNet. So as far as the mental health initiative, that's a topic of mine. We've talked about it, I think, at the Municipal Alliance meeting. I'm just
Yes.
curious how it works. Is it going to be a part of the YouthNet, a club, or is it going to be for all
Well,
students, or how is it
The
implemented?
way I envision it right now is that the training is in April. So I've already been to the principals. We're identifying people that we're going to send to the training. And then we're going to involve these teachers or whoever it ends up being, social workers, community person, whatever, to see how we're going to roll it out. So there'll be a workshop, but then I would like to identify which clubs we can actually send these trained people into so that they'll have some time with each set of club students
Yes.
so that they can get a handle on what it is that this program is about, but also a little glimpse of, hey, you come into this, come to the workshop and this is what you're going to learn and it's going to help you. And
Mhm.
so we have.
You're going to them. You're not waiting for them to come to you. That's fantastic.
Right. We really hope
Yeah.
for every single club to get in there
Right.
and to work the program. It basically, if I have this right, it basically sort of teaches the kids what their sort of psychological makeup is.
Well,
And then how they react to stress or how they react to seeing, their friends doing something that they're not, all
If
that
you're a
stuff.
risk taker, it's going to show you that you're a risk taker. And so if you go to a party and someone's saying, oh, let's do this, well, you might identify yourself and say, oh, I am a risk taker. Now I have to stop myself or rethink what I'm doing, or these are the tools I can use to,
Mhm.
just, either leave the situation or step back a bit or whatever. So I can send you all links if you're interested.
Well,
It's
thank
a-
you for elaborating, because I
Yeah.
do think that it's hard for kids who need it to opt in. So I'm happy to hear that it's going to where they already are, because I think
Yeah.
that's really important when
Yes.
you're implementing any of these.
Right. And because they're utilizing
programs.
people in the community that are going to be spending time with them, they're actually going to have that additional adult that's going to be someone they
Yeah.
can come to later on. And they're feeling that stress.
So, yeah, so that's a really good point. I mean, we know that we know at middle school that students often identify one or two people that they can go to And these people will be trained. So, you know, they can go to the workshop, of course, and they can see it in the club, but they can also access them during the day or after school, or, you know, it's another resource.
Yeah, or at like their peer connections or at their conferencing. So it's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Any other questions? No?
Thank you for your presentation
Thank you so
and
much.
very timely new initiative.
And I also
you.
have something for you.
It's a master plan. I'm just going to say that.
Hi, Patrick. I haven't met you. Camilla. Nice to meet you.
Like these chairs.
They almost make you want to stay. right?
Yeah.
You won't,
almost.
but you will.
Night.
Good night. Thank you
Night.
again.
Thank you. What's Patrick doing?
They provide.
Open Space Trust Fund.
Hello,
Mr. Nelson.
hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Yeah, Miss Lowell, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for,
See you in person. I feel like it's been a while.
I know, it has. We were,
Down the screen.
yeah. It's like the old days doing it live, except used to be donuts.
Yeah, except you're also on TV.
Yeah, well, that's
you
true. Okay.
Okay, you want to kick it off? This is Open Space Trust Fund budget. If these two.
Yeah, this is,
chocolate.
this should be fairly straightforward for several reasons. First of all, there's nothing to look at on the screen. This is purely a financial discussion, and you guys, I hope, have the summary sheet, right?
Yeah.
Plus the, plus all the backup.
Are you going to be able to put it up on there? Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this year, we were given 8 requests from DPW, from engineering, from recreation, for a total dollar amount of $870,500. We have, I say this every year, we seem to have the least amount of time every year to review these, but it was okay for 2 reasons here. These requests were almost entirely what I call heritage or legacy requests that we have either seen and approved before or have discussed in previous years. So there was nothing earth-shatteringly new here that we had deep discussions about. The other reason it was fairly easy is because it rarely happens. The total dollar amount of 870,000 came in under the available funds of
Yeah.
1,020,000. That 1 million, roughly $1 million comes from a combination of the tax levy money that comes in every year. There was 168,000 left over in unallocated from previous years. And then in my conversations with Joe, he allowed us to include the 477,000 from the spray ground project, which is unspent and not moving forward, at least at this point.
Right, it's being subbed out. though.
Yeah, okay. So that gives us the $1 million. So I can tell you right away, the committee because there was not a lot of discussion and they were familiar to us. The committee, in summary, is recommending for your consideration and approval all of the projects. There were discussion points on 3 of them that I want to bring up tonight that I think are worthy. The first one is the Memorial Park lighting project for 330,000. Again, we have seen this at least once or twice before. The last time we reviewed it and didn't not recommend it based on its merits, but because there wasn't enough money to fund it. Now, the question we had last time, though, became a moot point because it didn't move forward. We had the same question this time, is whether or not the expenditure for this project, how that fits into the bigger picture of anything else that might be done with the basketball courts and the tennis courts, resurfacing fences, whatever. Excuse me. I think we were told last time that it probably would not affect that it can be done independently, but I would just make sure that that is still the case so that you don't do all the work for the lighting and then have to do something later for resurfacing. The second one that had some discussion was the one that we submitted from the Open Space Trust Fund Committee, which is the updating of the master plan. Now, this had come up several years earlier because we on our own had realized that the existing element for the master plan was out of date. And then, so we had discussion about how we should move forward with that. And then we were told that it didn't really matter because the township was going to undertake their master plan update and that somehow this would be addressed. It turns out it wasn't addressed. The individual elements have not been.
Right.
So now we're coming back and requesting some funds for this. There was a question raised by the member on our committee from the Environmental Committee who said, gee, could this also be expanded to include something regarding the environmental report?
Mhm.
So it's, I think we didn't,
Environmental resource.
it's a report, right? I mean, he referred to it as a report. Fair question to ask. We didn't really come to a yes or no. And so I think this is something we would consider when we get into the actual writing of the scope of what this would be.
Okay.
My only note on that would be that I don't know if that falls outside somewhat the description of what Open Space Trust Fund is specifically for, meaning purchase of land, maintaining existing facilities, historic preservation. There's not a specific mention for environment or environmental projects. So that's just something to consider as we move forward. And the last one is just a note on the finances, the park tree, which comes up every year in $1 amount or another. This year it was for $75,000. We're fully in support of this. But I think it's important to double check the existing balance on the existing open space because there may already be money there. So this might be, the 75 might not be necessary either in total or in part. So it's just a question of looking.
Mr. Kaloje? For trees?
I believe there is, Mayor, but I'd have to go look at the exact amount.
Okay.
So it's just a question. Most of these others, if they have existed before, they're if there's balances left on the books, it's insignificant. So these would move forward with the full. In theory, they would move forward with the full amount of the requests. Whoops. So.
Great, thank you. I have a question about the 477K that you were told you could use as part of the total.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that that was being reserved and held for the all-access playground.
Me too. That money was supposed to be funding the all-access playgrounds.
Yep. In discussion was
Yeah, so the 477 before.
in total, all of it?
Yeah, all of
The
it.
money that was put towards the spray park at Maple Crest Park was being reused for this new all-access playgrounds. Because we weren't squashing a whole project, we were squashing that spray park project, but we still wanted to do something in that space. And I think we used some of the money for the demolition of the tennis courts because those had to be taken out now.
Mhm.
But that money was being earmarked for this
Yep.
new project.
Okay, well, that changed the scenario.
Yeah, it does a bit. Mr. Kaloje, do you know what, what we should do about that? Like they were already told?
Ordinarily, we would do a resolution that would cancel what we had originally anticipated the money for, and then a resolution, it could be the same one that says we're now reallocating it to this. So I know that there's been discussions amongst the TC about this is what we want to do, but it hasn't been memorialized yet, so the money hasn't been moved out of, and it's basically Maple Crest.
So it's still there,
Improvements.
but therefore there was no application by Recreation or whatever for funding for the all-access playground, because I think all of us were under the impression it was just being held.
That's right. That is
Yeah.
what's happening. I guess the question becomes, what's the total amount of unallocated OSTF money that's available.
So it's a million something minus 477.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the
Yeah.
total you had, Mr. Nelson?
Unallocated, yes.
Yeah.
Once we get the new revenue that comes in, that'll all start out as unallocated, and then we'll do a resolution to say this is where we want to allocate it.
So then where does that leave us?
Yeah. What's the number?
Well, it's-
Minus the 477.
Yeah.
As of January 1, the audit showed what, that we had, was it 400,000 in the, in OSDF?
I thought it was a little bit, I thought it's somewhere around 600,000.
And then that's unallocated money? Or
No,
does that
that's.
include-
That includes the 477.
So if the all-inclusive is still going into Maple Crest, then the money is allocated for Maple Crest. So it's just a matter of changing the title. Once we have a resolution that says this is what we're going to spend it for, then it'll be easier to track.
But it can't be included in this.
No.
Budget.
So are, are we using the new assessment or the old assessment in what we're expecting to receive from Open Space Trust Fund?
We propose to use the new assessment.
And how much is that now a year?
That's going to be roughly $620,000.
620. So the 620,
No, you just found $230,000 because we were using the existing
that's what I thought.
tax
The old
base.
number.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, because it hasn't
Right.
Yeah.
gone into a place.
was
Because it
smart.
hasn't been, you're right. And you did the right thing.
Right.
So you just found 230 out of the out of the 477.
But can I just say one thing about the Memorial Park Bridge? This is the one for the library.
This is the last one of the three.
Yeah.
So the library work is going to be done in the fall.
Mhm.
And by the time we get everything out of there and get ready to do that,
Right.
Mhm.
we're going to pass the construction process.
Mm-hmm.
So we might be able to cut this down to just put in some money for design
Right.
Mhm.
and the construction money put into 2025.
If I recall correctly, the design for these bridges previously was somewhere between 50 and 75,000.
We can get that.
We can get that, but since this is the third one, and
Well,
there's
they're
been
all
learnings, they're all different, but there have been learnings from the first and the second, so,
Correct.
I
there,
think there's
there
gonna
may be
a
a
new
economy of scale there.
There's
Yeah.
going to be a new architect also.
That's true.
There's going to be some new stuff because they're not going to have the benefit of what was there before.
But it's a smaller bridge too,
It is a smaller bridge. That's the good news.
you know.
But it's going
Okay.
to open up to.
So there's,
lots.
Library.
so there, so there's some opportunity there between the new assessment and the, if we reduce the Memorial Park Bridge by the library to say 75,000.
Can I suggest that we agree to these 8 things plus the all-inclusive park
Right.
and leave it to administration to figure out how to fit
Yep.
it all in there?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good plan.
So, any other questions from anybody on anything?
No, that was my fear. I was just worried about the answers.
Yeah,
No, that money.
we all were.
Where did it go?
I know. So, okay, Mr. Nelson, do you have anything you'd like to?
No, I just,
There's $50,000 in DPW for tree planting.
That's for street trees.
It says increase tree planting around township and parks.
Yeah.
Well, usually we use the 75. We
yeah,
used to do
that's-
50,000 in OSTF for parks because we can't use it for
I would-
street trees.
double check
In
because, yeah.
2023, it was a combination of the two that we went out with together.
In the DPW budget.
Yeah,
W and OSTF.
Right.
yeah. So I would,
This year, we did get some overage of trees, if you will, from DPW street planting to the park. So we had like 30 extra trees planted in Memorial Park
right.
and a lot of trees planted in. We had, I think part of that is because, I mean, the additional is because there was such a lack of tree planting and difficulty with flooding in Maple Crest Park
Yep.
and a lot of trees coming down. So there was a real effort this year to try to replace the forestry that used to be in Maple Crest Park. So, okay.
So I would have one more question. How would we move forward with beginning the element update?
With the what?
The master plan element update.
Well, if the township committee approves that all these requests.
Okay.
And you guys, the administration.
Okay,
CFO figure out exactly how much we can give to OSTF. All
Okay.
these would be, then you can move forward after that
Okay.
with,
right.
planning and RFP and things.
Okay,
And we
Work
have,
with our engineer.
we have submitted a $20,000 grant to Sustainable Jersey for the natural resources inventory,
okay.
which is part of this,
Yeah.
or could be part of
In
it.
addition. that-
Yeah, well, the update would tell you whether that is or isn't
Yeah.
included. Okay.
Great.
Can I ask,
Great.
I'm sorry, can I ask a newbie question, just in case anyone else is watching that doesn't know? For lighting, so I'm thinking open space trust fund is for like lands and green spaces. So how does lighting play in? Is it because like
It's-
pedestrian safety in our parks or?
It's for pretty much anything associated with the open space that we have to make it usable, to maintain it, to like fixing the bridges in
Yeah.
Memorial Park. That's pretty much.
There's the key missions of the open space are, purchase land if possible, maintain land, improve land that are used for recreation, passive or active. So this obviously is an active recreation use.
Right.
It also includes historic preservation. So that's where things like the bridges come in.
Bridges. Yeah. So we're able
So
to-
that, but then that's why my question about environment, since that's not called out specifically, we'd have to look at that and see.
And what is that lighting project? Sorry, I don't.
The
we
lighting
haven't-
project is for the tennis and basketball courts at
Oh, that's why
Memorial.
you're talking about the
Right here.
resurfacing.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No, all good?
Mm.
Okay, great. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're on schedule.
That's what
Thank
I'm
you.
going for. Thank you for arriving early enough to.
Thank you.
Do we have police here yet?
Is that who that was laughing in the back?
I'll get him. No, he's here. I'm
Those
gonna,
Loud people.
take 2 minutes. 'Cause I need to.
I need more water.
I need more pizza.
I will, wait, like 2 minutes.
Priorities. Well, you didn't eat when you came in. We all had 2 whole minutes. Getting rid of that, getting rid of this.
Not when I'm trying to get the meeting started. Okay, we're back in.
All right, let's go.
Chief Sally, we have to do what?
Nothing.
Yep.
close to you.
I said, let's go.
Oh, did it,
go.
did it bend? No.
Okay, we're
Yeah,
4
okay.
minutes late. Let's go.
Good evening, Miss.
Good evening, Chief.
How are you?
You look very dapper this evening. Thank you for dressing up
Oh,
for.
I didn't dress up for this though. I had another.
Oh, it's
Oh,
not.
all right, thanks.
This was-
What was that? We're gonna take a 0 off.
Always no.
Not a nice thing to say. Okay,
Dressing up for you people.
Right.
go ahead.
All right.
Take it.
Do I hit record on this thing or I'm good?
Oh, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
All right. Okay. Mayor Adams, Township Committee, I thank you for having me tonight. I'm going to discuss a few goals from the Maplewood Police Department from last year, and also what we're looking forward to this year. In 2024, we're keeping with our mission statement and core values of the police department. We must be in partnership with the community. The Maplewood Police Department will continue to prevent, identify, and suppress criminal activity, ensuring the rights of all citizens are recognized, respected, and preserved. In 2023, the extraordinary officers, dispatchers, and civilian staff contributed to significant crimes trending down from an uptick in 2022. As discussed each month in public safety meetings, Maplewood has seen a 50% decrease in robberies, a 37% decrease in auto thefts, and 11% decrease in property thefts. The department will continue using proactive policing and investigations to reduce burglary and assault incidents. The number one complaint received by police from the public is traffic. The complaints come from all over town regarding speeding, pedestrian safety, and careless driving. The police department will continue to address these problems with education and enforcement. In 2023, the Maplewood Police Department completed 3,797 traffic details, with 3,495 moving vehicle summonses issued and 1,247 warnings. The Maplewood Police Department in 2023 conducted several community outreach initiatives, fostering positive interaction with youth and older adults in numerous ways. Programs included the Open Gym at Columbia High School, the Junior Police Academy, and our yearly National Night Out. The Maplewood Police Community Engagement Unit also meets regularly with members of our older adult community and various safety meetings. The plan is to expand upon last year's offering with engagement with the public. Training has expanded in 2023 and will continue this year. The department focuses on the following activities: de-escalation techniques, crisis intervention, current use of force and any current updates, autism training, dispatch training, cultural religious awareness, officer preparedness, and all mandatory training set by the Attorney General's office. Officers will be well prepared to respond to public needs with professionalism and fairness. The safety of the public and officers is paramount. The 2024 budget reflects residents' concerns regarding safety and quality of life. The budget will assist officers in being well-trained, following prescribed guidelines of best practices, and having the proper equipment to complete our tasks. That's our goals for 2024.
Great. I was at a meeting last night with Deputy Mayor, and one of the residents talked about a little bit of a desire for a little bit more community policing work. So I don't know if you, I understand the stuff that you mentioned here that is, obviously, but just, I don't know. And a lot of it's personality driven, and we talked about it, but it's also can be a directive from top down in some way to the officers when they're out and about, whether it's in the car or going by somebody on the street to just wave, engage. That's literally all she was asking for. Is like a cop drives by and they just look straight ahead, even I'll wave and they don't, so something for your department to think about for 2024, just based on last night's meeting. I'm mentioning it because I'll forget otherwise.
Yep.
I was gonna
Yeah.
mention. that.
Yeah.
Got it, so yay.
So I know, we got away from it a little bit, I think, the walking cop in the village or things like that because of COVID. When COVID happened, a lot of those kinds of things, I think,
Right.
kind of naturally. But, so just wanted to flag that for you.
Oh. Yeah, I do want to bring back the walking post. That used to be a mandatory post we used to have.
Mhm.
We're trying to work on the schedule. So we have an officer that will be able to do that on a everyday basis.
Yeah.
We also do during the holidays, we call it a scan detail where officers walk Springfield Avenue mostly in the Maplewood Village and walk in the stores. But if I get the schedule I'm looking for, then it'll be an officer that'll be their 5-day shift of a
Mhm.
walking post.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Engage with the public that way,
Right.
other than the formalized events.
Yep.
So, does anyone have any questions for the chief on the goals for 2024? Effective? Do you want to go into the
Sure.
budget first or capital first?
Budget should be shorter.
See, baby.
I don't have that.
Okay. Have it pulled up? Okay.
All right, so a lot of things are consistent from last year. Safety supplies and equipment, it's pretty much on the same page of last year. The Detective Bureau, actually, our Detective Bureau has been great in 2023. They in 2022, I mentioned the uptick in crime, and we had we had more robberies. We're up 50%. A lot of the reason why it's down is because the Detective Bureau was able to make identifications and making a lot of arrests during that time period. So this will allow them more equipment for their more equipment for their investigations, as far as fingerprint lift kits and boot castings and different and collecting DNA and everything else. Cell block stays the same. Medical expenses are the same. Dues, meetings, dues being part of a lot of associations. Myself and the deputy chief, part of the Chiefs Associations, also the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. We are a part of that, so that's dues we pay. Training expenses, again, I mentioned it in my goals. And we have been very rigorous in our training. So it's been a lot of training going on. We have mandatory training, but also we've been doing a lot more than just the mandatory training, bringing specialists in to teach us about autism, to teach us about cultures and the like. And also, I mentioned officer preparedness. So we are still the police. So we have to respond to active shooters or, swattings and everything else. So we want to make sure our officers are prepared in doing that.
And Chief, just on that, we should just let the public know, because this was an issue. In 2022 and 2021, we only budgeted $12,500 for training, $12,500, and spent around $10,000. And in 2023, we budgeted $46,000, $5,000, and spent over almost $45,000. So we've really ramped up the training budget as we said we would.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that you're spending it.
Right. And even with that, our Officer Stolk and Deputy Chief Malloy are our training, in charge of our training. They still find creative ways to even save money with that.
Right.
So they spend it and then they find free trainings as well. Equipment, maintenance pretty much stays the same. Office equipment, the same. Supplies, everything coming down here is pretty much the same. Other contractual services, okay, so you see it from 44, we're asking for 74. The reason for that is we want to maintain our accreditation, right? So we found a company that will assist us with accreditation, that we're not doing it ourselves. They'll keep us up to date with case law, Attorney General guidelines, update our older SOPs So they're up more modern and they are up to date. So this company will assist us and also organize our property room so it's up to standard. So then we will meet the criteria of CALIA, which is the organization that accreditates police departments. So we in my budget, in my statement for goals, my goal is for our department to be more professional, and having accreditation makes us professional. Also, the JIF, our insurance company, sees the importance in it. And once we make the purchase, they will reimburse us $10,000.
Nice.
So is that. So, you know, it's very important we do that, and that our SOPs and our directives and our rules and regulations and everything's up to date, because, you know, the Attorney General is moving the last couple of years, he's moved pretty fast in updating like use of force and things like that. So,
And there's a new state law forcing accreditation to all departments.
Right.
So this is great.
right. And make sure we're doing it the right way. We're not, you know, just making SOPs up ourselves. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
We get forced, yeah.
yeah, so that's that increase.
And Chief, I have a question, and Mr. Weary, on the line 30, it's 240, 225, purchase of vehicles. We have 0. Are we not purchasing vehicles this year?
We are, but they'll be done through capital lines. So
Even the regular cruisers?
there's no, yes, everything through capital lines this year. Yes.
I'm sorry, what was the
I thought the regular police cars could not be capitalized because it was
SUVs are capital.
SUVs, but the regular police cars could not be.
They're only buying SUVs.
That's right. And all the capital money was from prior years. So in 2023, you passed bond ordinances for police vehicles for 23 and 24.
Okay,
There's
so
no money, there's no capital money in this year's budget for police vehicles.
But
SUVs and regular police vehicles.
There's no money in this budget.
And we're getting how many new vehicles from previous?
Well, I mean, we still have on
They'll have
order
on order.
Yeah.
7. Yeah.
okay. So those 7 vehicles that were due to receive that are already paid for, right, from previous budgets?
That's right. They're either appropriated or, yeah, they're all appropriated in previous year capital budgets.
So great, because we've heard from our officers saying that they're riding around and, you know, the seats are taped up.
And that's not for lack of effort on our part to purchase these vehicles.
Right.
We have continuing now, we have orders from 2021 for vehicles that still have not been filled.
Okay, great.
So that's a frustration of all of ours.
Yeah, then we had to go for bid for the one.
That's right. We went out to bid for 3 SUVs, 3 Ford Interceptor SUVs.
Okay.
Yep. Let me see, the DPW repairs are the same. Community-oriented policing remains the same. There's we applied for a grant for our junior police academy. So I think we should get approval for that.
Junior Police Academy.
Our junior police academy that we run every summer. I think we ran one since COVID, so this will be our second. We had about approximately 15 children. We're trying to go to 30. And with the grant, we're trying to feed them breakfast and lunch with the grants.
Nice. Was that the $7,500 grant application recently?
No.
No, that was
I
different.
believe Sergeant Reeves put in for $15,000.
Right.
Right.
But that wasn't for this.
7,500 was for probably Click It or Ticket or
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Also that junior police academy, they do a lot of things. The helicopter lands on park,
wanna be
canine
that.
dog,
The helicopter, yeah.
right? They do drill ceremony, you know, teach them how to march and everything else, and crime scene and forensics and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Right. So that's
We get the committee involved.
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Watch commander salaries, the salaries and weapons allowance is about the same amount.
So just go to the dispatch, 911 dispatch, 911 dispatch. We used to budget 40 and we spent 68 last year, and we're budgeting 68 this year. Is that Why are we going up that much?
Yeah, so the dispatch overtime includes our watch commander. So that's the watch commander. And for a period of time, we did not have that lieutenant's position filled. When it's the watch commander and it's the senior sergeant, that salary. So we had holes there for as far as the getting the watch commander.
Everything else is the same as last year, so we have to. I do have a question about the 240-102 crossing guards. I didn't understand this. It lists as 585 and then it says outsource move to OE. So that's an increase of 200, almost 300,000 from last year. Could you explain? I know it's more money, but if you could just explain that whole thing.
That's an evolving conversation that we will discuss later tonight about our options between keeping our crossing guards in-house with no changes to the program, keeping it in-house with changes to the program, and subbing it out to a third party. If we sub it out to a third party, the expense goes from salary and wage lines to other expense lines. When the chief submitted the budget, we had in mind to go to recommend to you to use an outside party. We don't want to change what was already submitted to you, but as we'll discuss later, the chief has a different recommendation on keeping it in-house, but making some changes. So it won't be for the full amount that was originally proposed. We'll make some revisions after all the departments have presented.
The salary increase that you're looking at won't change though, will it?
Say that again?
The salary increase that you're asking for, the hourly increase?
For crossing
Crossing
guards, it
guards,
won't be above what is included here in the budget as being moved to OE.
Right.
No.
So now that you teased us, when are we going to talk about that?
We're going to talk about it tonight.
We're gonna talk about it.
Later? I mean, what does later mean? I mean,
That's fine. We can talk about it right now. Absolutely.
I wasn't ready to talk.
You were going to talk about it when? You said later tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it should be in the packet.
It's in the back.
It is. It's in the packet.
Could we pull it up on here too? If it's on there?
There
line
is
item.
some salary discussion in here. That
Oh, okay, never mind.
not put on here,
Okay.
but I can give you broad brush if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
So the issue that we have with, and Chief, please jump in here.
Yeah,
But you'll pull out that document. The issue we have with crossing guards especially is that when the crossing guards call out, we end up relying on police officers as well as parking enforcement officers. And that runs well in terms of substitution, but it does not, it takes those people away from their other typical duties. And those duties are important, which is why we staff them, right? And so we don't want to keep, on an ongoing basis, and it's pretty regular, pull officers off those posts. Every day, on average, we're pulling about 2 officers off their posts to cover corner. And so that coupled with the fact that it's been difficult to hire new guards at our current rates. And when we find out people are out, the extra guards that we have, it's difficult to call them in immediately. So after looking at what it would cost to outsource this, which the chief is too high to be absorbed into the municipal budget, our recommendation is increasing pay to a point where we think we can attract more candidates to the position, and also staffing 2 other permanent crossing guards that aren't assigned to posts. Right now, we have 28 posts. We staff 28 permanent guards. We'd like to staff 30 guards with the understanding that on a daily basis, we run 2 guards short. And so we can keep pulling those 2 guards and moving them on the corners that we need to. The days that all our corners are covered, all those 28 posts are covered, those 2 guards will move to our busiest posts and cover those as well. But we run pretty regular 2 guards short. And so that'll, both those things will come with an added cost, 2 additional guards and an increase for the crossing guard pay rate that we have now.
I have a question about that. So with the school district's integration plan, we see traffic patterns changing, increase in traffic, like you mentioned, and pedestrian safety. Our crossing guard schedules and posts and hours and everything got changed because we found that information last minute. There's been a lot of figuring things out and adjusting. Are we budgeting for any of that? Like what happens if all of a sudden we have 30 crossing guards, but now we all of a sudden need 32? we're kind of in the same situation we were last time. So I'm just curious if I know in municipal partnerships, we're asking the school districts, please, as you're figuring it out, can you work with our police department so that we can figure it out, now when we're in budget season, and South Orange is doing the same. I don't know if they've reached out to you at all. So I just want to just bring this up here since I'm bringing it up there.
Yeah, our proposal is based off the crossing guard corners that we have. So the school has
Right.
made
No.
us aware of any.
No,
proposed corners. No,
they have not.
they're at the beginning of the 23-24 school year, we did make adjustments to the number of corners we had and the hours on those corners. And those adjustments are reflected in this 2024 budget, but we don't have any additional corners that may be currently being considered by the school district. We're not aware of those.
And you are also proposing a part-time evening coverage of about 4 hours. To take us
Yes.
to 6:30, which will help some of the new times, like Seth Boyden is a little bit later than it was before, and we found that we didn't have coverage, but now we would have coverage under this proposal, right?
And that's for the PEO is the evening edition, right, Chief?
Right. Yes.
We don't currently have a PEO in the evening hours. And so and often, like we said before, we're pulling those POs to cover corners. So we're proposing to add a PO in the afternoon that can be used to cover corners. if need be. When they're not covering corners, we know full well they will cover their cost. And
Right. And and that also frees up some of our officers so we can actually do the enforcement around the schools. Driving around Clinton School or Tuscan, and it's, I drive through
Crazy.
there, but we really have no officers to assist because they're all on corners. So the extra crossing guards and the extra PEO should free some of these guys up so we can.
Help with the community policing that Mayor Adams was talking about too.
And when we say that these two officers are generally being pulled to cover corners each day, that's what is being considered in what we're proposing. But in addition to that, we have another, is it 7 officers who either cover corners permanently or are on road closures. So by the schools, we have police officers crossing. In front of the police department, we have a police officer crossing, and we have a couple of road closures that are staffed with police officers. So that doesn't change, but it's just, as the chief talks about the demand on his officers and where they can be placed and the kind of community policing we may want, for all the times that we have corners, those police officers are pulled off their regular assignments and assigned to either those posts, the corners, or to the road closures.
Yeah, like Baker and Donnell in the afternoon, our PEOs are leaving for the day. So that has to be covered by an officer because they're gone. They work earlier. So we can fill that with extra crossing guard or evening PEO.
Are you talking about the road closures that are like unexpected, not because?
So we're all of this.
Oh, those are.
Yeah.
What it requires.
Like Harvard.
Safe travel of school age children, yeah.
So Burnett and Baker works out because we kind of close that to one lane traffic, but then the officer can leave the car there and cross the kids at the same time. So it's kind of like a dual thing.
So can you point to where the recommendation is? Is it on?
It's on
Chief
page,
Malloy's page 2?
Oh,
page 2, yeah,
Recommended proposed changes.
yeah.
yes.
Okay. So in the front of that, it says we have 28, I guess this is the marketing and contract manager from the crossing guard company. That he says that we have 28 full-time crossing guards, 2 part-time and 1 alternate guard. Is that not correct?
That's correct, 28 guards, yeah.
28 full-time, 2 part-time and 1 alternate guard.
That's right, but they're not being paid if they're not working.
Okay.
He's included that into what he may end up.
Right. So tell me how that is different than the recommended proposed changes, which is 28 guards, 2 additional guards. Don't we have that now?
It's a money thing, I think.
So for certain, we do not have the 2 additional guards. I think Deputy
Right.
Chief Malloy had gone back to All City and
Yeah.
asked them to change it recently.
Right,
Is that
right,
So
right.
So this is
we-
not correct?
It's correct, but it's not reflective of what we have now. When we When we presented it to you, we wanted you to kind of be looking at apples to apples when you consider what All City is going to be, would be charging us. So if we are proposing to increase by 2 crossing guards above 28, we wanted All City to reflect
Okay.
that as well. That way you don't,
Got
it
it.
doesn't seem like All City's more competitive.
So their increase is 157 or more? $157,000?
112.
That was 112 at the bottom.
It says 157.
No, up on the top. It says, if you look,
Oh.
the billing rate, 32 guards,
Yeah.
be $158,000.
Oh.
438.
That was at the holidays and things.
So do you see any benefit in outsourcing this that,
Yes, I do see benefits in it. Besides,
don't jump on that too quickly, chief.
Yeah.
now we have 28 guards, we have 28 corners. A sergeant would check to see if the guards are there, right? But not the quality of what they're doing. It's just to see if they're where they're supposed to be. This company has a supervisor who will check to make sure they're doing it properly and they're there on time and deal with the coverage and everything else. Usually the police department, when we find out when somebody is not there, is if somebody in the public calls us.
Right.
The sergeant might do a drive-through, and you know, he might detect it, but sometimes by the time he gets to that location, a person hasn't been there for 10, 15 minutes. So, you know, we get there kind of later. Also, when we, in the beginning of the school year, we were adjusting times because we didn't really know the times of when kids were getting out. And usually it came from a parent that says, my kid is coming from Tuscan and he's walking up the hill. So our guards are gone because we're just focusing on the middle school, not knowing that there's a group of 10 kids coming later on across. This company would identify that and be able to fill it as need be. Also, they're in Milburn, so they can pull guards from their other locations. They're also, Westfield's a little further, but they're in Westfield also. But they have a pool of guards that they manage and they can, you know, bring in, you know, it's self-managed.
And Milburn started using them this school year, right? The school year, last school year? I don't know if
I
we
think they used them.
found
more.
out how
I think
it's
been-
going.
I think it's been more years than that. They used it.
So,
The chiefs I speak to, Wilburn, Westfield, they said they haven't had any complaints.
So it sounds like you want to outsource it.
yes, I'm confused. I'm confused.
Well, the thing is.
Logistically outsourcing makes the most sense. Financially, it does not.
It does.
That's the
It's
difference.
too much.
It's $100,000.
It's over $100,000. We would love to
You gotta get this sergeant out there more.
Financially, it's well over $100,000 more.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, but there's not a zero cost to what the proposal is. The
No, I know.
total increased cost of the proposal is
91.
91,000.
Right.
Now, that also includes 22,000 for a new position, right? That's the evening person.
It's the evening.
So if you subtract that, that's $70,000.
So we're saying it's a 30,000 difference?
Well, maybe about 80,000 different.
But
80,000.
But again, what we had asked All City was to give us pricing based on, well, they gave us a couple versions, but based on the 2 additional guards, because we wanted it to be apples to apples comparison.
Right,
So if we were
but-
proposing that we had 2 additional guards,
Let me ask you a question. If we were to hire All City, we wouldn't need additional guards because they have to provide
That's right.
subs,
Right,
correct?
right,
You
it would provide subs.
right,
So it would go
exactly.
to 28.
So- Right.
Stay at 28.
Yeah. So whatever, I don't know about stay, go, wherever, it'd be 28.
Yeah,
28.
It's very confusing, I have to say.
yeah,
They're
it is.
basing this on 32 guards.
Okay, we'll clarify, we'll create a new document
It would
and,
be nice if you could give us a spreadsheet
I agree.
that shows
Yeah.
apples to apples here.
okay, we'll prepare that.
But for the,
At the end of the day, we're still talking about going to All City would be over $100,000 more expensive, and we lose, some control over.
We do.
right.
But we gain more control over our police officers.
Yep.
And,
And the crossing guard quality is better. The
well, most
cro-
of them are going to be the same crossing guards, right? They're going to.
Yes, they'll take our same.
Right, but they're supervised.
Yes. they have
Right.
supervise themselves.
Yeah.
Center can-
Yeah.
can-
So we're not getting 20 emails about people that are not there when they should be, right?
Yep.
You're getting those calls. We're getting those calls. Yeah.
I'm not getting.
And Westfield said they stopped.
Not yet, you aren't, but you will be.
They said they stopped getting those calls since they moved to this company.
Right, right. No, I remember this conversation early last year around the same budget time as well. And this is why we started exploring this. All right, so can we then have a new document to look at? But again, Chief, what is your recommendation for the public and for us?
Well, if money's not an issue,
Money's not an issue.
Yeah.
I would say
Start
outsource.
at every corner.
I would say outsource. That's my recommendation.
My last question on that, so I'm looking,
Right.
so Milburn, as of July 2021, Milburn's Police Department was still hiring their crossing guards. So I'm pretty sure the switch just happens. It's either the second school year or the first school year. So I would be curious to know how it's going in Milburn, just.
Okay.
I
I'll
talked to
follow.
the administrator about it a month ago and he provided good service. Yeah, they're happy with the change. But he said it costs more money and Milburn was okay with it.
So
Right.
there's also if we address some of the issues that have been ongoing by increasing, not having those 2 extra guards, we'd still save a lot of money. Like, I would be interested in seeing the new document, but also I feel like we should give that a shot before, increasing 100,000.
Well, I also think that we should let's just get a new document so
Yeah.
we can review along with the costs.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the safe crossing of our students. So it's important. It's public safety,
Yes.
right? And it's your recommendation
Yes.
as the chief.
Yes.
Okay,
I recommend that we use the group.
right.
Use that tool.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. That's not everything, I'm sure.
Capital.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm moving to our police radios, our radio system.
The radios.
The radios on the radio. No one is paying attention to my jokes.
I don't understand the
They
sense of
don't-
humor.
they don't get it.
Of pop.
Jermaine,
I
they just
do
don't get it.
references When they come in. That's all Rick does.
Of the 70s and 80s.
I have like 10 pairs, but I've never worn them with. I know you are.
You can tell.
So where are we at?
We're waiting for Patrick to pull up the document.
This was more spending for that.
I know.
I brought mine from last time. You need this, Patrick? This is the capital spreadsheet you gave us from last time.
Do that.
Okay, the Maplewood Police radio system is in definite need of a rehaul. Okay, the current system is a VHF 150 meg radio. I don't know what that is, but that's what it is. Installed approximately in 1997.
Oof.
In 2008, the police department moved to a new building at 1618 Springfield Avenue with the old radio system. The vendor, Northeast Communication, installed a 911 system upgrade to touchscreens 4 years ago. That's the only upgrade we have. The radio system still involves a copper wiring connection. When it rains, it impacts the quality of the radio. There are 4 radio sites in town, towers that we have that our radios receive off of. Maplewood Police Station has one, the Top has one, DPW, and Ivy Hill. The towers are constantly down due to the outdated copper wiring connection, which is negatively impacting when the weather involves rain. In 2023, the PD reached out to Northeast Communications over 50 times for radio and tower repairs. Northeast Communications, the state vendor, reports that the radio system is at the end of its life. The manufacturer no longer supports the Motorola portable vehicle and vehicle mobile radios we have now. Yes.
While he looks for that, we're talking about 2 separate things. One is the portable, so handheld, and the mobile radios, what's in the car, that physical equipment. And the other part that he's talking about is how those pieces of equipment transmit to each other. So those are the cell towers and
Yeah.
repeaters and antennas.
Right. And we currently have 4, but they're constantly going down, or the radios Cliff Sessions is our rep from Northeast Communications. He wrote us a letter. And it says, the Maplewood Police Department's radio is at the end of its life. What that means is that all the Motorola portable and mobile radios are no longer supported by the manufacturer. All the fixed radio equipment is between 15 to 20 years old. Most of that is no longer supported as well. That means the parts necessary to keep the equipment in service has become difficult to obtain or is non-existent. The newest piece of equipment was a comparter install in 2015. In the event of failure, we may not be able to recover. Currently, the shipping times have become extensive. A base station order today may take or receive to get it 16 weeks. While Northeast Communication tries to keep a stock of parts, the failure may be so severe, we will not be able to recover. If the failure is due to a power surge or lightning strike, we may not be able to repair. So that's from Northeast Communications. Chief Alvarez from our fire department was nice enough to let us try out they're on the state system. They have the new Motorola radio. So historically, we've had areas in Maplewood where we cannot transmit. So what we did was we took our radio and Chief Alvarez's radio and went to those locations to see if it will work or not. 1511 Springfield Avenue inside the Wawa. With our radio, no response from dispatch, just static on playback, 2 attempts. The fire radio.
Chief, do we want to say these things out loud? These areas where we can't
Yeah, I
transmit?
don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're making the point though that using the,
They don't work.
Right, there's areas where it doesn't work.
I think it got worse ever since Wawa started serving pizza.
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, do it.
On the satellite shape.
Oh, do it.
I don't either, but I think
That's what he
it's.
said. He said, he was having a problem in Wawa. Wawa started serving pizza. Since they started serving pizza,
It's not working.
Speaking of burgers.
But there's areas where we've historically had problems with the radio. Used the fire radio and it worked perfectly fine. He gave us a demonstration inside police headquarters where he was communicating with somebody from Morristown.
Yeah, so, and this is kind of a higher level.
Or lower.
What the chief is explaining is both the portable radios and our communication system is at the end of its
Is out
useful
of
life. We need to replace it. What
Correct.
he's describing now is replacing with a state system. So the New Jersey State Police runs a communication system where they have antennas throughout the state and you subscribe to that service. We don't own any infrastructure at that point. We're not maintaining it. If something goes down, we're not trying to call in Cliff on the weekend from Northeast Communication to go up to, the top of an apartment building and look at antennas. We're calling the state and they're already on it and they're already fixing it. Subscription fees generally are pretty low. So what we would have to do is buy new radios, which we need anyway, and subscribe to the state system. With the state system comes better communication. So when he talks about the dead spots in town, we've tested the fire department radios that are already on the state system in those areas of town where we have trouble, and they were able to communicate without any problem. At the same time, we were testing our own system, which comes through with variable levels of quality, right? So we get improved quality. The other thing we get is improved interoperability, and that means talking with other police departments. Right now, when we respond for mutual aid, or we have other people responding on mutual aid to us, when they communicate with us, they communicate on another channel, typically SPEN, right? Or they're communicating through our dispatch. They're not communicating on our channels and with us, which can create difficulties when you're trying to coordinate with other agencies. More and more agencies are moving to the state system, so that improves the interoperability. And already around us, there are, and the people that the police department works with the most, they're already on that state system. So SEFD is on the state system, South Orange, our own Maplewood DPW, Milburn, Union, New Jersey Transit, many other SEFD.
Can we stipulate that we need new radios?
We need
I
radios.
think
yeah, I think we need to get on the system.
we shouldn't be
All right.
exposing any kind of
Well,
weakness.
when we talk about interoperability,
No.
these are the real benefits.
Okay,
And we
okay.
can start to talk with them.
So we know we need more.
I'm about to ask that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And is that the cost of the
I
million
think so,
here?
But
Yes,
Yeah. And what is the annual subscription for the state?
$2,000.
A year?
Yes.
Yeah,
What's the
about
lifetime?
6,000.
Lifetime of the radios?
Yeah.
Over 20 years.
So the radios we have, we bought 20 years ago?
Well, she said 1990.
Oh, yeah, about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Was I here?
When weren't you here? 15, okay.
Oh, nice. That was a good comeback. Like it.
Okay,
On the
knock, knock.
scoreboard.
Saucy.
Is there, is there any other capital requests from the police department?
Yes.
We've got.
Okay, can you move it along? We're running late.
Could we ask Will a quick question regarding the scanner?
This doesn't affect the scanner, the police scanner
You may make
No.
it better or make it worse?
No,
in any way.
no. It will actually benefit the scanner because our radios.
Is there anything in your capital about improved communications equipment that will make the police scanner more reliable? You did get that email recently that it was down again?
I knew it was down, but I did not get the email.
Okay.
I spoke with him when I got the email.
Okay.
And it was
Right.
back up. That was a temporary.
Yeah, we knew it was down. We put it back up, but it was.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next capital.
Okay, next capital. Traffic.
Getting punchy around here.
The number one complaint the police department receives daily is traffic concerns and pedestrian safety. The main problem is speeding and not yielding to pedestrians. We're looking to purchase another MPH sign radar trailer. This one's unique because it allows us to program it to say things like an event is coming up or needed to reroute traffic, and it's like a display board where we'll be able to put messaging on it. But also it's cloud-based.
What?
It's cloud-based.
Cloud-based.
So we can get data from it as far as how many
Okay.
cars are coming through, the average speed, the times, and everything else. So that's that.
And how much is that?
$16,599.
That's separate and apart from engineering?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Can I just ask, you have the line item 40,000 for the Lexipol system. That's in the operating budget. Are we talking about that being in the capital budget instead?
It's not a capital expense.
This is just a description.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
The next is surveillance camera. This is a portable camera. Would assist with investigations, high quality camera, 17 hours of battery life. This is a portable camera. We can take it and move it to different locations where we believe there's criminal activity or, it'll be, of course, in a public place. And we can monitor it and hopefully it'll help us make an identification of somebody that might be doing something that's
Okay,
not proper.
and then you have public safety camera?
Public safety camera. Okay, so the public safety cameras we have now are out of date. They're analog. We want to bring them up to digital, high definition. And these cameras come with LPRs, license plate readers. We put them in intersections where it's high traffic, high volume. And it allows us to, that helps with investigations as well. The software is called Vigilant. Essex County Prosecutor's Office uses it. So when we send information, it'll be a lot faster and smoother. And other municipalities around us use the same software.
Okay, any questions for the chief on any?
I have.
capitals Besides the radio fun talk? Okay. Anything else?
Camera was.
I have.
That's all?
Lord.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Analog.
All right, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you for getting dressed up for someone else and sharing it
We're
with us.
coming here with it anyway. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Wah, wah. Okay, we're gonna move right along.
Health
Sorry.
Department.
Ms.
About to get
Davenport.
dazzled by Davenport.
I know we're going to be dazzled. Yes.
Sorry for the delay.
$14.99 for a pizza.
$15.
We know you have,
Get like a Roman gourmet.
Yeah, for less money than that.
$2.50 for extra cheese.
Yeah. See, we get.
My family likes their sandwiches.
I'm actually surprised that their burgers aren't shabby.
Oh, I've never.
16-inch pizza,
Yeah.
$15.
No, why would you, with all the pizzerias around?
20 if you want to cook.
You were waiting for
I gotta
that.
pay the hamster that's running the.
right.
Okay, everybody.
Yeah, by the time we get to, yeah, let's keep this moving. Ms. Davenport, let's catch up time here.
All right,
See how fast you can go through yours.
just approve everything.
Yes, to prove everything. Well, luckily we don't vote.
Do you have a dazzling presentation for us? No, what?
Shh, we don't need a presentation.
Never, Candace always delivers them.
Yeah, well, that's usually.
Okay,
Here we go. Health.
Board of Health
All
on,
right,
on the
move on.
5th.
You want to go through a quick overview, or you want to just go right to what would you like to do?
I believe that we have our organizational chart, which we'll review, just so you can see the breadth and extent of all of the people who are making all the great stuff happen that I report on every month. And then I believe that we're going to go into the accomplishments and goals. Okay,
Like, so.
okay, so as we can see here.
Yeah, that's a really yucky mic.
Oh, sorry. As you can see here, we have 4 various areas. So we have nursing, environmental health, crisis intervention and social services, which includes our crisis social workers and our local health outreach coordinators, and animal control. And then we have office administration, which includes myself. So as you can see, we're growing or expansive, but we really only have like one person per area, really. Like there's Anna for nursing, environmental health, we have 2 part-time people. Social services, we have Martha and Dina, but one is full-time, one's part-time. Sarah is our only local health outreach coordinator who helps them with social services connection. And then we have a contract with Township of Bloomfield for animal control.
Okay.
And then moving on to goals and accomplishments. And while Mr. Weary's pulling them up, I'll just review it so we can move forward. Our 3 accomplishments that we wanted to highlight were that we achieved Gold Star in health through Sustainable Jersey and incorporated the community's health considerations into the township master plan. Secondly, we've established an interlocal agreement, a multi-year one now, for health services with the Township of South Orange, and an interlocal agreement for animal control services with the Township of Bloomfield. And then finally, we've extended the CISW program, which is the Crisis Social Worker Program, by adding Dina Pressel, who's our part-timer, and increased our service providership volume. We had serviced 175 cases last year through our Crisis Social Worker Program. And our goals, as we scroll down, oh, do we have the 3 goals? Okay, sure, I can highlight them. Our 3 goals that we want to continue for 2024 are to apply for additional grant funding or the supplemental funding of or continuation of current ones that we have to sustain and enhance the public health workforce. This includes the multi-year interlocal agreement that we have with our neighboring South Orange. Secondly, our second goal would be to implement the first municipal homeless outreach and engagement program. We recently had a meeting with the recipients of the project, which is a CSP-NJ, and we are looking forward to them starting around mid-April, if not earlier. Finally, implementing our outreach efforts around the 3 identified community health needs after doing a health needs assessment, which are injury prevention, substance use prevention, and connection to treatment support, and increasing inclusivity of disabled, as we are part of All Access Committee for the township, which is one example. When I say connection to treatment support and increasing that, the opioid settlement funding that the township has received is being used to pay for the salaries for the crisis social workers. And they have been going to crisis intervention training that was provided by the county, and they go to our opioid settlement meetings with the state to find out about, what's going on. And the state's really pleased with how we're using the funding. They're like, oh, you're really using it to change the system and impact families. So, and that's it. We could go through a line by line item of the Excel spreadsheet.
Can I ask a question on the health inspections? So recently on, I guess it was Soma Eats or something, one of these Facebook pages, somebody had a negative experience in one of our restaurants and posted something on there. I think we would like to urge people, if they have a negative experience, to contact the health department.
Absolutely.
And that should be what they should do and not
Post.
post stuff online. It doesn't, first of all, it doesn't help move the needle.
Mm-mm.
And just to be clear, if we got a response, if we got a complaint, I mean, we're not there to be punitive. We're there to help resolve the thing, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think if I don't know who's watching, maybe one person, but we can get the message out that, you know, you don't have to go online and trash somebody, but it would be helpful if they called the Board of Health.
Absolutely, extremely helpful. Yes. So people have called us to report that they've had a bad experience and they're just not sure if it was this restaurant, but could we inspect? Likewise, we get lab results when people go to the hospital or go to the doctor's office and they are obligated to report to the health department. So then we do an investigation, which includes sometimes going to a restaurant or visiting a caterer. We do a full inspection, check their temperature, check their sanitary needs, hand washing, how they're preparing the food. And then we let them know, like, look, there was somebody who ate here on Thursday. They said they had something. Could we check, you know, like, let's say if it's oysters, like, where did you get this? And we look through records and we check, you know, who is the temperature, you know, what temperature they cook stuff in. So we definitely validate those things. And if something's wrong, we help them to correct it so that no further illnesses occur. But yes, we do need people to report to us. Otherwise, we don't have that count.
Comms committee opportunity, right? Just to get the information out about who to contact.
And we have our public information officer.
What isn't a comms?
Yeah, everything is comms, yeah.
Well, I think that can go out in the weekly newsletter that goes out.
Or mention it at the
Be on
next
the
Board of Health
website.
meeting in your packet that is then posted and sent
Okay,
out.
did you want to go through the line?
Can I ask one follow-up question, but it has to do with inspections of nail salons and businesses of that nature. Am I correct that we don't directly inspect them, but should we receive a complaint or a concern from a consumer, we relay that to the appropriate state authority? Is that correct?
Absolutely. So here's how it works. These are places that are licensed by the New Jersey Department of Consumer Affairs. They have an enforcement agency, but sometimes they're covering the entire state. So if someone gets a complaint they usually report to us. We will go out there on behalf of DCA to just do an inspection, right? Like, you know, do they have sanitary utensils and facilities? We generate a report and then we send it to DCA enforcement and they take over. Sometimes people call DCA and leave an anonymous complaint. And if they're not capable to get to it, they'll send it to us like, hey, could you do this on our behalf? And then just report back to us.
Thanks.
Mhm.
I have a few that I can send your way that
Sure.
I've become aware of
Okay.
from consumers locally.
Yeah, because we could prevent, you know, skin infections and other diseases that way.
Line item.
Line item. Okay, okay. So we have, oh, that's okay. For the salaries and wages, we have what seems like a low number, but finance was able to put down that total department salaries is 552,000, but you'll see that the township would cover X amount under that total. That's because a lot of that is covered by the grants that we have applied and received, which are covered below. There is no, let me just see if there's any big increases that we are requesting. Not at this time, but I do want to highlight that there's a homeless outreach line item, which is a new line item for 2024, which is one of the goals, and that's the homeless outreach and engagement pilot program.
So there's one question just above that, the professional services, which we budgeted 9, spent 15 last year, and now we're budgeting at 4,500. Does that have anything to do with the homeless outreach?
The professional services was initially used last year to pay for the crisis intervention social worker oversight. So the crisis intervention social worker is overseen by a clinical licensed social worker. And then once Martha, who's our full-time person, receives her license to be a licensed clinical social worker, we no longer need that. So we anticipate that she will get all of her hours that are required by the state. And so that's decreased by half. We should be there by June.
And that's because the Mental Health Association is no longer providing that service to us for free like they
Yeah.
were in the very beginning.
That's correct.
Right.
And the homeless outreach, I think you started talking about that, but I was distracted myself with something else, so.
The homeless outreach program is going, we budgeted for $100,000, and that is going to be used by our contractor CSP&J to provide that service. It's a anticipated amount, and because it's already February, we'll see how much we use, but that was the anticipated amount for 2024.
Have we started implementation of that, meeting
Oh, yeah,
with them
we've
and
started,
stuff?
we've met with them just last week. And then we'll have another preliminary meeting 2 weeks before they finalize the person that they're going to use. And so we anticipate like mid-April, if not sooner.
We could talk more at BOH. We could talk more at BOH.
Yeah. Moving on to our animal control services. Oh, and I also want to mention that a lot of our dues, meetings, and seminars and our printing and office supplies and equipment are covered through our grants as well. So these are minimal costs. Animal control services, we anticipate $72,000 for animal control shelter, for animal control services. That was based on the amount that was charged by the Township of Bloomfield. Our contract with them ends June 2024. Unfortunately, we received a letter saying that they no longer want to renew for June, after June. So we will go out with an RFP for our animal control services, but I don't anticipate that the numbers are going to be any different. They might be like a couple of $1,000s lower, but based on quotes that we got from last year, this is about the amount.
Range.
It's about the amount we paid St. Hubert's also 2 years ago.
Why are they stopping?
Unknown. They didn't give an answer.
You asked, but they didn't tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up is just the grants that we have. So Municipal Alliance Program, we still are receiving roughly $12,000. This is similar to last year. As you know, this is pass-through money to go to programs such as YouthNet and the Parenting Center for their Elementors program. So we support those. It also can go to the MAC program through the Parenting Center as well. And then we also are using some of that funding to go in with South Orange to pay for some money for Midnight Madness and their drug prevention efforts. The Ninjacho Enhancing Local Health Infrastructure Grant also offsets our salaries. For this year, we anticipate $104,000 with the hope that there will be a second follow-up to this. The cost or the amount that they will assign to local health departments is unclear, but we will be pursuing that grant as well. The Strengthening Local Public Health Capacity Grant, which we've had for the last 4 years, we have about $203,000 left. Both of these, well, the strengthening one ends in June, so we have to expend all that. And then the state said that there would be another additional funding for that, but it'll be less than the $406,000 we received for this year. The Damas Youth Leadership Grant is also connected to the Municipal Alliance Grant. It's the Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services. That funding will be going to Reveal to Heal for their 8-week program for social support services and support groups. This is the National Opioid Settlement money that we've received that offsets the crisis intervention social worker salaries. $45,000 is from the Community Benefit Fund through the Apothecarium contract, and most of that will be used to offset CISW salaries as well. It really is a benefit to everyone for this money to do to put this towards salaries for community outreach. So we're appreciative of that. And then our interlocal health agreement for South Orange was agreed upon to 120,543 for this first year. And it will increase, and they're in agreement with that based on the COLAs for the next subsequent 2 years. And that's our budget.
Thank you. Is the anticipation for the grants that, you so nicely get for us, that they will continue, or are these like one-offs, or are they, you know what I'm saying? Like, is this
Yes.
something we can count on, or is this just?
Yes, we can definitely count on the strengthening grant. Now, what we were told is that we're definitely going to get about $50,000, which is a sharp decrease from what we've gotten. However, the Ninjacho grant, they're looking at a second CDC funding source for epidemiology and lab services, which can be used to supplement local health departments like ourselves. It all depends on how many local health departments apply. So if only 20 apply, all of that money gets dispersed to 20, so it could increase. If 72 apply, that will decrease significantly. But we will keep you informed of where our funding is midpoint. That's really what we're looking at right now.
Anyone have any questions?
I was just going to say that several of the grants, certainly those that are funding positions in your org chart, have been renewed more than once.
Yes.
Which is terrific.
Absolutely. For the last 4 years, we've had the strengthening grant, so.
Right. So that's a good thing.
Mhm.
Thank you for being so incredibly resourceful,
Thank you.
Health Officer Davenport. Very, very resourceful in what you do. Thank you.
Thank you. We're very happy to serve, and we thank you for your support.
Anyone else have questions? Comments?
I'll also just say someone else was called the Grant Queen earlier, so I will just say that I think Health Officer Davenport also
Yes.
gets the Grants Queen.
100%.
All right. You're off the hot seat.
Hey.
Move, Miss Lester.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Here comes the library, comes the library.
Library.
I was gonna say that, but I'm
In
like,
Philly, we used to say library.
library.
I'm like, it's not a library. There's an R in there. It's a library.
Strawberries, green scrimps.
Direct.
It's like, take a picture.
Good evening.
Good
Is
evening.
it still raining out when you get?
Uh,
Well, not that I've been out of the building that much. So welcome. Thank you. To our budget. It feels like this is when we see everybody.
Okay, well, thank you,
Budget.
Township Committee members. I'm happy to be here. We had a big year last year. We started construction on our new library in August of 22, and I think you saw it all sort of going up last year. So that we're now at the halfway point and looking forward to a new library being complete in August of 2024. And then we'll have to move in the books,
Then you
move
have
in
to
the
bring
technology, all of that. But we're very excited. And just to remind you, as far as grants, we did receive an $8.3 million.
yes, baby.
Just a little. Oh, that
But
seemed a
last
little
year,
competitive.
I love it. I love it.
last year, we did also receive more than $130,000 grants. And
Yeah.
the big one of that is for our ESL funding, which I believe is 7th year funding for that. And that has been a very successful program that we've received funding from the Department of Labor for that. And we also added on a conversation class at Hilton. And so that has been very successful. The other things I wanted to point out is that, we've been in, very constricted spaces. Our public has been very accommodating and is very excited for the new library, but it has been challenging. And we have been challenged by our spaces, especially at Hilton, with an aged roof which is leaking,
Yes.
it's really problematic for us. So we are expecting the restoration of the flat roofs and the parapet walls, and that should start in about 2 weeks. But that really can't start soon enough. I mean,
Yeah.
we have active leaks in the building, so that has been.
Yeah, Mr. DeLuca and I experienced the
Yeah, it's sort of
Other-
beyond, and staff have to work in it, you know, so
Yeah.
that has been extremely challenging. And so as part of the request for this year is all the repairs that's needed inside Hilton Branch after, you know, just from the plaster repair, et cetera, after the roof is replaced. The other thing that does need to happen, and so that we're not just being reactive to problems, is this past year, the slate there were about 100 pieces of that slate were replaced that were cracked. And at that time, we were told that that would last at most 5 years. So I would please urge the township committee to think, you know, to look for budgeting that within that 5-year span, so we don't find ourselves in the same position in 5 years. Looking forward to this year and some of our goals. I mean, the main goal is to get this new library open to the public. But we also will need to add 2 staff members. So that's included in this budget. And that's for a full-time library assistant and a full-time custodian. And also what we had taken out of the budget for the past, you know, since pre-COVID was a security guard at the main library. And this budget also reflects having the security guard back at the main library after we open. And this will impact the police too, because there will be more activity just listening to the crossing guard conversation. The middle school kids going back and forth on Baker Street. We know what that looks like. And so we will need a presence there. You know, I'm jumping around a little bit, but trying to move quickly, just in the interest of time. But the other addition that's new on this budget is an increase of 45,000 to the library direct expenses line, and that is for software costs associated with technology for the new library. But I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to, it always amazes me how much you guys have done and continuing the services of the library from all different locations, squeezing it in. No, it's not gone unnoticed. It's been really, really helpful. And it almost feels like the library's been more present.
Well, I did learn from our health officer at a department heads meeting last week that where we're located now is one of the areas in town that actually needs the most services. So, and we see it every day. And actually, Candace will be coming to our staff meeting tomorrow to talk about the social services that are provided in town, because we're helping people fill out job applications, helping people do all sorts of things that they absolutely have to do using a computer. They do not have a computer. They do not have a cell phone for that second point of authentication. So everything is a challenge.
Yep.
And so our librarians are spending, hours with patrons, and some getting very good results, but they are especially having to have a cell phone is just an impossible hurdle for so many people. So it will be, really helpful to hear from her. And we work closely with the health department. We're working with the police department, but really trying to help the people in this community who really need the help.
Wow. Yeah, that 2-step authentication.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pain when you have a cell phone.
Right.
Let alone, it never occurred to me, like, these are the things that,
Yeah, and this is with people with
And thank
very
God you
low
guys are
level of technology skills, and it's such a barrier for
It is.
for our residents.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
I know the request is more than the minimum tax, but Mr. Cologe, the minimum library will go up this year, right? Because
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
1767597.
What is it now?
For 2023, it's 1767597.
You know what it goes up to in 20?
We don't know until November this is published in October. So I guess this is do you know how that works?
No,
Joe?
we have it in the budget sheet. If Where we can bring it up, we could take a look under revenue because I typically try to split it out so that we can see where it's moving.
Oh, and it's in revenue?
Yes. So we're going to see the first line would be the municipal tax levy, and then right underneath that would be the.
Yep, got it.
minimum-
1767597.
Right.
That's last year's.
That's, and last year was 1762179.
Okay, right. So this is what's posted in October.
Okay, so it's about $100,000 more.
Okay. Anyone, any questions for?
Mm-mm.
I mean, the other thing that I think really sets Maplewood apart is just the leadership that we've taken across the board. And I want to thank you all for becoming one of the first communities in New Jersey to be a sanctuary for a book sanctuary town. The library board then became a sanctuary for reading. Our assemblywoman is one of the co-sponsors for the Freedom to Read Act, which is going through both the Assembly and the Senate right now. So that is a huge thing. And additionally, we are going for LEED Gold certification in Maplewood for our building. And that is a very big deal as far as leadership throughout New Jersey. And we're very close to LEED Platinum. So we'll see if we can get there. So the difference, just the LEED Gold, you have to have 60 points. It's on a point system, and LEED Platinum is 80, and we're showing that we're very close to 78. So that's where we are. But it's
Those extra two are very good.
Wow.
but it's exciting.
2 points, huh?
Esther, I don't see anything in your budget for grand opening celebration.
No, so we have received Essex County grant funding for the Ideas Festival again this year, which we will do after the grand opening. So it will be what we're going to use that funding to get some big names to come in after we open. We would welcome more funding for grand opening.
I think you can check the
You're also
the clerk's budget line for
Right.
parties.
Uh-oh.
Can be tapped, I think.
Yeah.
It's only fair.
That's great.
We're really excited too.
Yes.
For this
Nice.
opening. It's gonna be great. And the target date,
Uh,
once you
We
have
don't
all
have a
the
target
books and
date for
stuff.
opening, but we have a target date for, the construction is on schedule to be complete in August.
Okay.
We have heard it's going to be about a 6-week period for moving
move
in
everything
our
back in.
books and our technology. So that's where we're looking. So it's looking like October.
Okay, great.
Terrific.
Will the Hilton Library remain open during that move?
So
or
that's our goal.
Hilton Library remain open during the move?
There may be, we're discussing this right now because we really do, want our open services, but we know how much work it's going to be to open this new building. And so there may need to be a 2-week period where we have to close Hilton in order for
Yeah.
everybody to help get us open.
Mhm.
Yeah.
10 years ago, the township committee did invest in joining the Buckles Consortium of Libraries. And so we are part of a consortium of 77 libraries, and our patrons can use Milburn and South Orange.
Right, right.
And other libraries have done that when they've been closed, including South Orange.
And maybe,
So-
maybe it'll fall into late August, those couple weeks.
Right.
when it
People
might
are
be
away.
less time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your leadership.
It's
You're
really exciting. We're all.
tremendous.
Yeah, well, it's going to be great. So thank you
Tremendous.
all. Okay.
You're gonna have a nice new office too.
Probably never going to be in it.
Probably never going to be in it.
Yeah, never
Exactly.
gonna Be in it. It's always-
Oh, no, but it's a nice place to close the door. Thank you.
Good evening.
All right.
One last one.
Finance.
Finance. Best for last, Joe.
I hope everyone had a cup of coffee before we get started with finance, but we'll do our best to keep everyone awake. Mr. Worry's working on a PowerPoint
If
presentation.
it shows us stuff on the screen, we'll stay awake,
Might
right?
make it a little bit easier to follow, and then we'll switch over to the spreadsheets that we've been using to discuss operating budget.
Okay.
No, actually, the PowerPoint presentation would be better.
Wait, what did I do with that page? We're on time now. This is great.
We are. Sarah, again, Candace and Sarah.
Candace and Sarah.
Oh, we're not even supposed to listen to Joe until 11 minutes from now.
No, we're gonna listen now.
You want to tell us something else before you?
There we go. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, so starting out with a brief overview of the finance department, it is mandatory by state statute that there are 4 functions of every municipality. They must need to be filled by licensed personnel. The clerk's office is one of them, and the finance department is the other 3. To give a brief overview of what the finance department actually does, we have a tax assessment department. We have over 7,500 properties and just under 10,000 sewer units that he is essentially an asset manager for. Under tax collection, we collect taxes for the municipality, both from the open space and the regular operating budget and the library tax. The school district and the county's open tax, we collect money for the 2 special improvement districts. We bill and collect for the sewer department, and then we are also responsible for bringing in all the money from the various departments and making sure that it's accounted for. On the finance side, we manage payroll, which has over 400 employees. 200 of them are in our pension system. We handle all accounts payable. We handle the debt service, which currently is about $59 million. And we handle interlocal agreement and other invoicing that we get from the administrator's office. Next slide, please. So in terms of highlights for 2023, this would be one of the 2 biggies. We went through a reval. And as you can see, our previous valuation for the entire township of Maplewood was roughly $3.9 billion. And it is now currently $6.2 billion. All things held equal, if it goes the way we anticipate, we will see a reduction in the rate, which was roughly $3.61, down to $2.40. That is, of course, dependent upon what the school district does and what the county does, and ultimately what we decide to do with our operating budget as well. Next slide, please. Our other achievement was that we financed last year a $33 million bond. We had $16 million worth of previous projects in place. We spent an extraordinary amount of time in the spring working on producing our official statement and also discussing our financial health at great length with the bond rating agency. I just want to highlight for a minute that all that work and all that time paid off. And the yellow is actually our bond. It's a $15 million bond. Ultimately, it came in at 31.1 million because we got a premium. We applied it directly to reduce the amount that we were borrowing, and we brought it in at an interest rate of 3.12%. If you look directly above that, you will see a town that is rated better than us financially. They have a AAA rating, and they had a 3.5% interest rate. So as much as we had a lot of frustration last year with bank recs and AFSs and everything else that goes along with it, this represents roughly 6 weeks worth of work. And if we can go to the next slide, we can see that we were working in conjunction with 2 projects. On the left was our own, which ultimately, because of what we did, we're going to save the taxpayers $1.7 million in interest over the course of the 15-year bond. And that comes down to roughly $125,000 a year annually in our operating budget. And on the other side, because we are a member of the joint meeting, they were going out for a $215 million bond. Our share to that was roughly $10 million. But because it is being financed through the iBank and that FEMA is going to help subsidize the project, ultimately at the end of the project, because of the work we did, we'll be on the hook for only $1 million. Again, a substantial savings for our taxpayers. Next slide, please. So our goals for 2024 are relatively simple, not very ambitious. We're looking to transition to electronic purchasing. Administration was the one that suggested we do that. Once we get through the paper purchase orders we have, because I just don't have it in me to throw it out, we will flip that switch. Basically, on the pace that we produce purchase orders, my guess is sometime by May, we will switch over to electronic purchasing. We are also looking to transition from our Edmunds server to Edmunds Cloud. Our server is reaching the end of its useful life. Rather than purchase a new server, going to the cloud would increase our efficiency. Any of our locations that are remote typically take about 10 minutes to log into our server. So DPW, the police station, well, not the fire department anymore, but this will give more instantaneous ability. It also increases our capacity to store documents electronically, and it also gives us the ability to have a greater amount of historical data stored. So it is a recommendation of the Finance Committee. We are looking to implement direct withdrawal payments. Right now, people go online and they can pay for their sewer bill or they can pay for their taxes through our online portal. With the cloud, we would have the increased ability to have people register with us. And then we would send out an email letting them know 3 days ahead of time, we will be pulling this much amount out of your bank account. And then we would be able to then process it. Prior to this, this is the first year that we're not doing it anymore, but prior to this, we were waiving the $1.95 fee that came with it. So people are now paying $1.95 if they're paying online. If they sign up for this program, we can offer that free to them again because the file would only cost $1.95 for 200 processed payments. And then we're also looking at expanding our online payment portal. Right now, you just have the ability to pay your taxes and sewer. We're exploring the idea of being able to do more, some recreation stuff perhaps. I know that a lot of it's through RecDesk and a lot of it's through SDL. But with this module, we should be able to expand it and then bring it in, which would make the accounting for us a lot simpler because it's now not two systems trying to talk to each other. Next slide, please. So most of this we can see in the spreadsheets. This just may be a little more digestible. I want to talk about the statutory tab, the utilities tab, and we'll start out with our pension obligations. So this shows us a history of the last 5 years. And on the right, I extended it out a couple of years with the following explanation. We can see that pension has been rising every year. We get a bill that comes out in January, due date of April 1st. And there's a 2-year lag that goes with the pension payments. So in 2024, we are still paying for the firefighters' pension. But in 2025, because we now switched over mid-year and SEFD started paying their firefighters, we anticipate about $1 million reduction in 2025. And then come 2026, the firefighters will be fully off. And so that's the trend that we anticipate in terms of a savings to our taxpayers, where you can see right now in 2024, we're looking at $5.8 million. And by the time we get to 2026, that should go down to 3.7. That is also projecting the typical increases that we see from the pension. Next slide, please. This shows our debt service. The bottom line is for bonds. The lighter purple is for the interest on bonds. And then the brown and yellow are for the notes. So you can see from this particular slide, and in 2019, we converted over all of our notes. And so predominantly, we were looking at debt service that was strictly bond related, permanent financing related. In 2020, we had capital projects. We sold notes. We could see that at the top. Same with 21, same with 22. And then in 23, with the $1.7 million worth of savings that we got, we can see that our debt service significantly dropped. We're now picking up those bond payments in 2024. 25 through 28 is an estimate based on the idea that we're going to do $6 million a year in projects. We can see all the way back in 2019, money was cheap. You can barely see that little yellow line that says, here's the interest we were paying on our bonds that we were floating. it's not cheap anymore to borrow money. But we are anticipating that we will move forward with a $6 million a year worth of capital projects. And then at some point, we will analyze when it would be the best idea to convert the temporary notes into permanent financing again. Next slide, please. This is insurance costs that we've had to deal with. We can see that in 2021, when the pandemic hit, costs decreased, both for health benefits and for liability and workers' compensation. Most of that is related to the fact that people weren't really going to the doctor in the middle of a pandemic. That would have been the time, and I know we had had discussions with prior administration about leaving the state health benefits plan, because at the time we had a very positive loss ratio, and we would have been able to get in. We would have been able to get in at a much more favorable rate. That being said, we have finally moved. Mr. Worry got us across the finish line. He understood it wasn't a 3-month project like a previous administration thought. And so we see this year that we're looking at roughly $3.1 million. That is still a savings over what the state health benefits plan would have been for us this year. State health benefits plan would have landed us somewhere around $3.3 million. So we are again saving the taxpayers roughly $150,000 by making that move. As for the liability, this is essentially a function of climate change, and it's a countrywide, nationwide problem. Liability rates are going up. Some towns are seeing a deductible on top of their deductible, where they call it, and I can't remember the word they use, but as an example, let's say that we have a $50,000 deductible. They set aside an additional $750,000 so that if we wound up having a claim for $200,000, we would pick up the whole $200,000, and our $750,000 corridor would now go down to $600,000. And each claim, once we finally reached both the $50,000 initial deductible and the corridor that they created, that's when they would start paying full boat. I don't think we've experienced that yet, and I'll leave that to the administrator to discuss in greater detail. But I know that other towns are experiencing that issue, and if we're not, we need to be prepared in the future for having to deal with that. Next slide, please. These are our utility costs. As you can see from this particular slide, the biggest portion of our utility costs is paying to get rid of our sewage. The next biggest cost in the pink would be keeping streetlights lit and fire and traffic signals working. The blue represents gas and electric for all of our facilities and buildings. We then have a small layer for water, and then telephone would be our next highest. Next slide will break this down into a little greater detail for us. So we can see that we've been relatively stable with sewer, and this year we're going up by $200,000. That's a function of some of the work that's being done at the joint meeting in terms of that $215 million bond and the projects that they're experiencing. We can anticipate that they're just beginning with this, and that we will continue to see increases in the sewer in upcoming years. The other side shows basically that we've seen the steepest increase in keeping street lights lit and keeping traffic lights working, and that gas and electric's been relatively stable for our facilities. And a little shout out to Mr. Mikulášky on the telephone. He began that project in 2020, back when we were paying about $152,000 for the phone, and he implemented a new program where we moved over to the voice over internet protocol, or the VoIP, and he basically saved the Maplewood taxpayers $50,000 a year. So if anyone feels compelled to call him up in Maine, say thank you. I certainly will on my ride home. Next slide, please. So this is deferred charges, and the slide on the right is pretty busy. We'll just take a look at the slide, or on the left is pretty busy. We'll take a look at the slide on the right. Deferred charges happen one of two ways. Either we wound up with an expense that we did not anticipate, or that we somehow have overspent what we budgeted. So if we go back to somewhat of the busier slide, we'll see two numbers in red for $79,000 and $82,000. Those represent capital projects that we did not go out and bond a sufficient amount of money for. And so we were forced to raise that in a subsequent year in the full amount. Ida, which is part of the reason why you see a spike on the right, was $1 million that the governing body approved. It was considered an emergency that we were able to then stretch out over a 5-year payout. Our only problem is after our first year paying out $200,000, the state, when they reviewed our budget last year, said between the amount of money you got in from FEMA and the amount of money you got in from insurance, we're not going to let you continue to pay this off, pay the whole lump sum off in one shot. And that's why we see $800,000 in the following year. $400,000 is in revenue loss from COVID. We did a note to ourselves for $2 million. This is paying ourselves back over the course of 5 years for what we were allowed to do. $200,000 towards the bottom represents the final step of us moving over to the SEFD. That's stretching out what we had to pay for accumulated leave. Instead of having to hit the taxpayers over the head in 1 year, we were able to stretch that out over 5 years. And then all the way at the bottom in the black numbers is the reval. And we can see that the last time we did a reval, it cost us $82,200 every year for 5 years. Obviously went up in price, and we're now paying $114,800. We got a break though, and in 2022 and 23, we actually didn't have to pay for a reval. So I know that when we hired Mr. DeCourt, I said the one thing that you need to do is let us at least pay off this first reval before we get stuck with another reval. Next slide, please. 2 years. The reserve for uncollected taxes, and I put this in and backed it up all the way to 2016 to kind of show the last time we had a reval, we significantly increased the amount of reserve that we had for uncollected taxes in anticipation of having tax appeals. You see 2 smaller lines that show a dip of roughly $1.2 million. That was prior administrators looking to balance the budget the easy way out. Typically, we should be running about $1.5 million, which we see roughly from last year to 1.6 and roughly 1.6. This year, we have budgeted currently $1.8 million, but I think it would be to our benefit to have a conversation about either increasing it the same way we did back in 2017 or creating a new line in the budget that would be strictly for tax appeals, which would then get charged off of our operating budget and put into a reserve, so that in the event that we have any issues, we would be able to financially withstand them.
You did that this year, right? Because there is a $200,000 line.
Yes.
Okay, so when we get to that, we can talk a little bit more about it.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's the last slide in terms of getting us through tabs and boring numbers, so we can throw back up the spreadsheet for the finance department.
So I just want to, just in case someone got excited about a lot of those lines that are going down because of SEFD, we have to remember that they're going up on SEFD. So they're still going to be charged to the taxpayers.
Yes.
Just a little differently. And hopefully we'll get the economy
of scale
over there.
ultimately have
That'll
a
be
savings.
different. But
Mr. Kaloja, you want to go over real quickly your one capital request before we move into the line items?
Sure. I have one capital request, one personnel request. The capital request was a phone call from vehicle maintenance, who said that the vehicle that our tax assessor uses to go out on inspections is pretty much no longer repairable. So vios con dios, and eventually you're going to need a new vehicle. He was kind enough, Mr. Malavasi was kind enough to actually go out and get the quote for us. So in our capital request is a quote that was provided to us from vehicle maintenance to replace the vehicle that we're currently using to do inspections for tax assessment purposes. And then I also have a personnel request, but I know that we're not really talking about those just yet, correct? So this is our operating budget. Notes on the side kind of explain what we're trying to do. As we said, one of our goals is to move from having admins on our server, which is on its last legs, to moving it to the cloud. So that's the reason why you're seeing an increase in that particular line item. We're also looking to increase the amount of storage space that we have. Currently, we are busting at the seams in the finance department. And so typically a municipal budget runs 2 years, last year and this year. So it's actually a 2-year budget. And right now, we store a lot of our last year's documents down in the basement, which makes it a little more difficult to have to retrieve documents for. So we're just looking to put in some additional cabinets, some additional counter space to try and make ourselves a little more efficient and have everything in our office for the open 2 years of an operating budget. We see an increase for the tax collection and revenue administration. We're going to start sending out delinquent notices on a more frequent basis. Typically, in years, we've been sending them out only twice a year. Usually, the big one was right before we were preparing to go out to tax sale so that we can kind of get people to pay us and keep them off a tax sale. We're now looking to do that on a quarterly basis.
So that doesn't represent more delinquencies, just that we're going to be contacting them more.
Yes,
Frequently.
more frequently.
More frequently.
Okay, right. Because all you can see there is increased delinquent. Yeah, but now you explain what that means.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then from the tax assessor's perspective, he is statutorily the person who's supposed to be in charge of the tax maps since I've been here. It somehow got dumped onto engineering. So engineering was very happy to give it back to the finance department. So we're increasing that budget in order to include what they need to do in terms of their GIS stuff and what we need to do in terms of creating and maintaining a new tax map after a reval.
Tax appeals.
And that is.
So let's go to that tax appeal, 200,000. So talk about the rationale for doing that, because we haven't done that in the past, it looks like.
Right. So the function on that is towns can, if they get hit hard enough with a tax appeal, can declare a special emergency, and then they can then do similar to what we did on the one slide and make it a 3-year payout to cover it, depending on the size of the tax appeal. And that gives us the ability to avoid any kind of spike. A lot of towns, and it's more fiscally prudent to start to budget for small amounts of money. We're starting off with a relatively large amount of money because we just came out of a reval and we don't have this reserve in place. But ultimately, in future years, if the governing body is in favor of this, we would budget $50,000 or so. And then when the budget got adopted, we would charge off the full $50,000 and move it into a reserve so that at any point in the future, if we wound up losing a tax appeal down at the state court, or we got hit over at the county board for multiple appeals, that would be the mechanism that we would use to fund it instead of taking it out of the operating budget and or declaring an emergency appropriation. So a lot of towns do this. It's actually, I believe, one of the questions on the best practices that we aren't able to answer yes to yet. And so our recommendation is to start, while I recognize that we may not have an appetite for $200,000 in terms of doing that, we are trying to kind of play catch up to something that doesn't exist right now. So that's the only reason why we plugged in such a large number.
So isn't there a counter argument that sort of like a capital expense, if you get hit on an appeal, isn't it fair to spread that over time so that current and future taxpayers pay that off as opposed to just current pay?
So ultimately, and that's ultimately where the reserve would land. This would not be a $200,000 line item every year. So yes, we would ultimately be spreading it out by the concept of putting in $50,000 every year over multiple years in order to build that up. Currently, the way we pay for it right now is we will hit our current year taxes receivable, which then adversely affects the amount of money that we're bringing in from the tax levy to support the budget. And then ultimately, we're looking to do either budget transfers in order to cover it, or it's directly hitting and reducing our fund balance.
In addition, we have one large taxpayer this year that had, separate from the revaluation, had gone up. And so they already have outstanding appeals and may have an additional one. So it seems like the right time to take part of that increase and set it aside.
How much does it normally cost us for these tax appeals every?
These are judgments.
Yeah.
Oh, the judge.
Yeah,
So it could be any-
yeah. Well, we discussed this in finance subcommittee because of this one entity in particular. Yeah.
Mr. OJ's point, I mean, this could be a number we adjust. I mean, I think as the budget kind of gets more fine tuned, this will be a part of discussion, but this is a very good practice because while this is a large number in the first year, it does help you smooth out in future years what could be the payment for tax bills.
Do we have any idea how many people are appealing right now, or we don't know any of that yet? We do.
So last year from an appeal process, we probably paid out about $80,000 to $100,000 in successful appeals against us.
Most of
As,
it's commercial.
as it stands right now, majority of them are commercial, correct? And we anticipate that based on the reval, and Mr. DeCourt was firm and aggressive and fair. But we anticipate that there are going to be commercial properties that disagree with that assessment. So we believe that we are going to see a significant number on the commercial side, and the commercial side is typically the big numbers. But last year, we probably paid out, like I said, about $80,000 or $100,000 on appeals in total. I think we had only one state judgment, and the bulk of the rest of them came from the county board.
And people just got their final card, right? And the appeal deadline is what, April 1st?
May 1st.
May 1st.
Because it's a
Okay.
reval
Reval
year.
year, May 1st.
Typically, it's April 1st, correct, but it's
okay.
May 1st because it's a reval year for us. To date, we have one confirmed appeal that has been filed with us. We've had 60 phone calls threatening us with, we're going to appeal this. But it's, the appeal process is not going to be that simple because we just hired a company to create market value. And so often, like, people are going to look at this and they say, I can't believe you assessed my property at $650,000. It's absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, if they wind up asking the question of, if you put your house up for sale, how much would it go for? And they said, well, it'd go for $800,000. Well, then 650 doesn't really seem like an unreasonable number type of thing.
Right.
And that's ultimately what would wind up happening at the county board. We don't anticipate from a residential perspective that those appeals that are going to the county that we are particularly vulnerable on, because the data is as fresh as it can possibly be through the reval company that we used. And ultimately, you're getting a 6-month freshen up of them doing comp sales to what the reval company had done. Am I saying that there may be some adjustments in certain directions? There may be, but they'll be relatively minimal because the data is just so fresh.
And the reval firm defends their numbers, correct?
Yes, for 2 years.
For 2 years. So that helps. So we're not spending our legal costs for that.
Correct.
Not as much as, yeah. Yeah,
Correct.
right. So I have a question about you said about the state said we got the FEMA and the insurance money. So typically, and then we had to pay back the note because we borrowed for that. So typically, like with FEMA, we just fixed the roads up off of Ridgewood.
Mhm.
And we're due to get 600,000 from FEMA. We spent about $900,000. So that money comes back. Where does that money go? And how does that get calculated in all this?
So that money typically, because there's a significant lag, and so it's not going to be a reimbursable line item into an operating budget, it typically gets realized as miscellaneous revenue not anticipated, and that helps to increase the fund balance. And so part of the reason why the state gave us a hard time on that, you know, we were about to go $200,000 for 5 years, and in year 2, they were like, nope, just pay the whole thing off, because they knew that the money that came in essentially artificially inflated our fund balance. And so they're
That doesn't
concerned.
go into the capital fund balance. It goes into
No, it
just the
goes into
regular
the operating, correct.
operating.
Any other questions?
I recommend that
Pretty branded.
if we're going to put something on the website, we should definitely include some of those slides that you shared with us about the things outside of our control, our financial health, how we're going in the right
Yeah.
direction. Those are great slides, by the way.
Thank you.
Very nice graphics.
I don't know if I like the nuts.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, I like that. I like the gray background.
The gears, right.
There's one last announcement that I would like to make, and that is that the state is looking to enact a law that's going to change the way senior citizens pay taxes in New Jersey.
Oh, do
Whether,
tell.
whether they actually get there or not is going to be another story, but they are proposing that in 2026, they are going to do away with the senior freeze program, and that every person that who's over the age of 62 will be entitled to a 50% reduction in their taxes, capped at $8,000 a year. It would appear that they are working towards that because the senior freeze revenue had a limit. You can only earn so much money in order to be eligible for the program. In 21, that was like $92,000, and in 20, it was $92,000, and in 21, it was $94,000. They have now increased that to $150,000 for 22 income and 23 income, and actually 23 income has now gone up to $163,000. So to anyone who's watching from home and is struggling and wants to stay in their home, a program that might have been out of reach when it was, a income limit of $94,000 is now easily $50,000, $70,000 more than what it used to be just a year ago. So call down to the state. We have the number on our website so that you can, because it's a state program, they will send you the form. We will fill out the one page that we need to fill out for you. Take advantage of it because it really is a wonderful program to help our seniors who have been in our community for such a long time
Yeah.
to stay in their homes.
Right.
Please
And
make
can
sure
you
that
do
gets out.
that any time of the year,
So no, typically there's a deadline for filing.
which is?
Yes, the state used to play a game where the deadline was April, and then they would make this big announcement that it was now June, and then they make this big announcement that it was now August, and then they would make this big announcement that it's the final is October.
For the election.
Right.
Right, in
So,
time to-
so they've stopped playing that game with this artificial deadline, and they've just now flat out said you have until October to apply for the program.
But today, in his budget address, the governor announced expanding the senior tax program,
Yes, and the
as well as
expansion-
the anchor program.
So the expansion comes in the revenue that got increased. The limit used to be 150, and now the limit's 163,000. So for people who may have been making 151 and didn't qualify, they qualify now.
Okay, right. I misunderstood, and I hope, and maybe others who are watching misunderstood that this is going away and you got to rush to get your paperwork in.
No, you
That's
don't need
not
to
what you're
rush.
saying.
But no, you don't need to rush. But the program, the way it's created now is the year that you establish your base year is the year that they wind up giving you your refund on. So let's say I file for this and get my senior tax freeze, and my taxes right now are $20,000. And then everyone gets done doing their budgets and taxes go up to $22,000. The state will send me back $2,000. But the following year, when it winds up going up to $24,000, that $20,000 base year still counts, and now I get a $4,000 check. And one of the things that I tell a lot of seniors who apply for this program is you need to be very careful with that income level, because I've seen people who have pulled extra money out of their retirement, help a grandkid go to college, and that then just pushed them over the limit and kicked them out of the program. And now they had to reapply, and they did. They successfully got back in, but now they're not frozen at 2010 when they first got into the program. Now they're frozen at 2015, and it's
Based on the year or 2 years before the income?
the tax difference is based on it when you initially applied the 2 years before. So the forms we're filling out are showing the taxes that were paid in 22 and 23, and they'll get a refund based on that difference. And then moving forward, it would be whatever those taxes were going back to 22.
I would love it if you could put something together to possibly bring over to the senior center to explain to our residents, because that's a serious concern for many of them.
Or even just put it on the website?
Yeah, well, it needs to be on the website. and
I
then
know
communicate that to
Assemblywoman
Amy
Jassy,
Stewart.
that was her thing, and she would have a
We used to have a seminar here.
every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to bring
I
it
think we can
back.
get our new Assemblywoman to do something.
I'm sure our new Assemblywoman will do the same, and also the anchor program is expanding as well. So it's available to middle income households as well. And we might be getting full school funding, which is incredible. We'll see.
Dare to dream.
Yeah. Well, that was the announcement. That was the announcement.
So if no more questions for finance, at our township committee meeting next week, we will cover community development, Administration, do we do you already?
No, we have community development and court.
Court, those are the last two. Okay, so
When
we'll
are,
put those
when
in.
are we gonna have, after we get those, when are we gonna start discussing all this stuff? Because we got new hires, we got new vehicles, we got radios, we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
I think on the personnel side.
So let me ask you about that. If it's a new position, how do you justify it as a closed session? I don't think you can.
I think
Right.
it's in public.
We'll discuss new positions and open. Whenever you'd like to.
That's what we normally did.
Yeah. So
Discuss those all together, and I had one sheet for you on.
You did.
Personnel requests. So do you want to do that next week as well?
We also need your recommendations that are
Yeah, well, so
still.
once this is all done, you'll get my recommendations on everything, on personnel, on operating, and on.
So we could possibly do that in the second meeting in March.
personnel and closed, and then the rest in open?
The capital and the requests and try
Well,
to,
there's not that many personnel to be
Not really.
closed.
No.
no.
All of them are open. Most of them are open.
Like new.
There's a office assistant, which is a new one, buildings and ground worker, a new one, roads and recycling worker, staff engineer, public information officer, accounting assistant, and recreation custodian. All those are open discussions. There's a court administrator, office manager upstairs in community development. That's what you have here on your list.
Oh.
Yeah. All right.
Cheer.
So that week will be two closed session discussions, two items in closed session. Merit increase. Then in open, we'll discuss, or we'll have new services. in court. We'll discuss-
Community development and court.
We'll discuss an open. Personnel report.
I think.
Well, it's also the Women's History Month proclamation, right, at this next meeting. So I'm just worried about the flag raising.
Health is.
Oh, it's also Board of Health.
I was just gonna say, I think that bigger discussion should go in this second meeting in March. Is that all right? Because it'll be too long.
Does-
Motion?
Wait, does that still keep us on the same timeline for our budget
Yes.
that we talked about?
We need to introduce by the first regularly scheduled meeting in April. We have always introduced our budget on time. Adopting it's been a different story, but we've always introduced on time and
We're trying to adopt by June, if I recall our discussion.
that would be the more prudent thing to do, yes.
Yes.
Right. Which is
Okay.
what we said in finance.
We've also had included a line in there for the administrator to recommend adjustments. Okay.
That's in.
That'll be in the second meeting.
budget.
Oh, it is. Okay. Okay.
I have to go look at that again.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Right.
Yes.
Sadafis?
Yes.
Luca?
Yes.
Sengel?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Thank you. Yes. Good night, everyone.